Chapter 461. Martial Arts Slaying the Immortal Master and Disciple Recognize Each Other _5. Senior Gui Chi. Chun Sansi's eye twitched twice as he shifted the topic. Did you come to see me for something? You guessed right. Gui Chi sat down beside him and said indifferently. Help me with something later. Senior. Chun Sansi declined. I'm of low cultivation level. I'm afraid that. Gui Chi cut him off bluntly. Don't help? Then don't expect to live. I'll help. Chun Sansi agreed immediately. Senior, you say? He had no right to refuse, so he could only agree first and then find an opportunity to act accordingly. That's right, don't worry. Gui Chi patted his shoulder. You don't need to take any risks. Once the task is accomplished, I will leave with you. Leave? This person wasn't returning to the cultivation world but was leaving? Could it really be? Chun Sansi probed. Senior, your martial arts are unparalleled, and you have a promising future. Why then do you seek to destroy the spirit vein and sever ties with the cultivation world? Young friend, are you speaking too much? Gui Chi's tone carried a warning. Chun Sansi currently felt that Gui Chi was 40% similar to his master. But after all, it was just a similarity. There are many cultivators in the world, and not all martial cultivators could be the only one. He couldn't just assume that an extraordinary martial artist was Sun Xiangzong. He wanted to probe further. But Gui Chi didn't give him the chance, throwing a bead and a talisman to him. In an hour, I'll attract everyone on the island 50 miles away. Take this bead, and follow its signals to search. Keep going to the place where the signal is strongest. First use the talisman to set up a boundary. Then infuse a trace of mana into the bead, and after that you don't need to do anything. Just sit there and wait for me to come get you. Who is this girl to you? He pointed at Zhao Zhao and asked. Before Gui Chi appeared, Zhao Zhao was stuffing her mouth with cakes made from spirit rice purchased in the cultivation world. After Gui Chi appeared, she even forgot to swallow what was in her mouth, standing dumbfounded with puffed cheeks. Her? Chun Sansi replied. She is my sister. Good. Gui Chi picked her up as if picking up a chick. She will come with me first, to prevent you from playing tricks. If things go wrong, she dies first, then I will come for you. With that said, he vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving no chance for further conversation. Zhao Zhao. By the time Ning Xiang reacted, it was already too late. Let's go. Chun Sansi whispered. Let's do as he said. Zhao Zhao, she. Ning Xiang was extremely anxious. Don't worry, she will be fine. Chun Sansi stated confidently. Something is wrong. Ning Xiang sensed something amiss. Why do you suddenly seem to trust that demon so much? Guess who he is? Just a moment ago, when the other party took something from his chest, Chun Sansi clearly saw a pendant hanging around Gui Chi's neck. That pendant was actually a ring. He had seen this ring a long time ago, at the time of selected point when he killed Ning Chongquan. His master, the old man, took out a long spear from the ring. He hadn't known before, but now it seemed obvious. It was clearly a storage ring. Thinking further, this Gui Chi predecessor seems to have never had a suitable weapon. The initial spear broke after a few uses, obviously makeshift later on. He even snatched a cultivator's hammer to use. Almost certain. Chun Sansi was now almost sure that Gui Chi was his master, unless the master had died and the ring fell into someone else's hands. As for not recognizing them, one reason was because they all had altered their appearances. Secondly, this place was far too distant from Liangzhou. The matters concerning Ning Xiang were decided solely by the fourth senior brother. The master was not aware. Really? Ning Xiang incredulously. Gui Chi is the commander. What is he doing at the ends of the earth, and also intending to destroy the spirit vein? Don't know, just do it. Chun Sansi got up. Let's not talk about whether it's the master. Even if it wasn't Sun Xiangzong, they had no other choice. With the power currently revealed, it would be easy for him to kill them in turn. This bead. Chun Sansi scrutinized it. The bead was about the size of a palm. From its appearance, it seemed somewhat similar to a xianzhu, but perceived entirely differently. Holding it, one could feel the immeasurable and fierce mana contained within it, as if someone had forcefully compressed the ocean into this tiny bead, which, at this very moment, could hardly be contained any longer and might erupt like a tsunami with minor external assistance. This bead was also a container, but it stored not mystical energy but some sort of mysterious power. Holding it, Chun Sansi visibly resonated with something, the bead functioning much like a compass. He stealthily moved under the night sky, with Ning Xiang closely following behind. The two headed toward the southeast direction of the island. It's right here. Chun Sansi crouched in front of a puddle. Buzz buzz. The bead began to vibrate violently, as if coming to life, trying to break free from its constraints. Chun Sansi had to use all his strength just to keep it from slipping out of his hand. Spirit vein. With the bead's assistance, he sensed that there seemed to be a spirit vein underground at this location. But this spirit vein still seemed to be slumbering, and without special tools it was completely undetectable. Is the master making us look for the spirit vein? Chun Sansi realized something. Does he want us to use this bead to destroy the spirit vein below? A sense of disconnection. He suddenly felt a strong sense of disconnection. Within the transmission array, countless cultivators struggled desperately for a cave mansion established on a spirit vein. But on this island, someone intended to destroy a spirit vein that could be exchanged for countless resources. This was completely two extremes. Why? Why destroy the spirit vein? Chapter 462. Martial arts slaying the immortal master and disciple recognize each other _6. He did not stay to exchange for resources. With the talents of his master, he should have been able to advance further on the immortal path. Moreover, everyone said that the master's lifespan wasn't much. Couldn't he rely on the spirit vein in the immortal realm to find a way to extend his life? Missing for 2 years. He had gone to such great lengths only to find the spirit veins and then destroy them. What was the motive? At this moment, exactly half an hour since he had parted from Guiqi, a loud noise arose from the west side of the island, clearly a deliberate disturbance created as a signal for notification. Still the same saying. Even if Guiqi wasn't his master, he had no choice but to follow the instructions. Chun Sansi picked up the talisman and activated it with his mana. Strands of golden light emerged from the talisman, spreading outward from him and eventually forming a boundary that enveloped him within. Although he had never dealt with the way of talismans, he could tell it was some kind of defensive boundary, and its level was very high, definitely not of the first or second tier. As for exactly how high, he couldn't accurately judge. Chun Sansi pulled Ning Xiang into the boundary. Then he injected his own spiritual energy into the eager bead. The bead, no longer under control, transformed into a streak of flowing light and flew into the night sky, then become brighter and brighter, changing from a star to a full moon, and then from a full moon to a blazing sun, illuminating the entire ends of the earth like daylight. Subsequently, wave after wave of runes burst forth like a fountain, quickly forming array seals that enveloped the island. What's going on? Everyone, look! The seekers of the immortal from the great thousand world all looked up, utterly dumbfounded. Boom! Guiqi smashed a cultivator into pulp with a hammer in front of him. Next to him, there were more than a dozen cultivators. They all observed the phenomenon covering the heavens and the earth, all with shock on their faces.
À grande formation.
What kind of formation is this? Guiqi, did you do this? What are you trying to do? Zhao Zhao, thrown aside, was even more bewildered. Guiqi, no matter what method you use, you could never monopolize the spirit vein all by yourself. Old man, when did I ever say I wanted to possess the spirit vein? Guiqi started to laugh coldly. Tell me, you guys fight day in and day out. Aren't you tired? Old man is doing you a favor by destroying it. Everyone gets to relax at last. What? Destroy the spirit vein? The cultivators looked at each other, doubting they heard correctly. Have you gone mad? What good is this for you? The spirit vein is the essence of heaven and earth. Only the truly powerful have the ability to destroy it. What nonsense are you spouting? Guiqi simply sneered. Whether I can or cannot, you will see for yourselves. This formation. What tier is it? As the formation became complete, the powerful force instilled increasing fear and unease in the cultivators. They could not even determine what formation it was or its level, only feeling it to be unfathomable. Could he truly destroy the spirit vein? Quick! The leading cultivator shouted. Find the location of the array eye. He trailed off toward the end of his sentence. Even he himself lost confidence. If there truly existed a formation capable of destroying the spirit vein, how could they, mere chi refinement cultivators, possibly stop it? Buzz! Under everyone's watchful eyes, a deer resembling a sprite emerged from the spiritual pearl in the night sky and then floated toward the valley. Spirit of the vein. Whenever a spirit vein is revived, it must first produce a spirit of the vein. Only after the spirit of the vein matures and merges with the earth vein can a true spirit vein be born. The best way to pinpoint the location of a spirit vein beforehand is to capture the spirit of the vein. Chun Sansi witnessed the spirit of the vein fall before him and then, like a bodiless entity, drift into the ground. A moment later, from deep within the ground, waves of spiritual energy began to ripple and quickly spread to the ends of the earth, growing more intense. The spirit vein is reviving. All the cultivators at the ends of the earth felt the abundant spiritual energy between heaven and earth. Second tier. It has reached the concentration of the second tier just after reviving. Cultivators encountering spiritual energy is akin to fish encountering water. Utterly exhilarating. Boom! However, before they could carefully feel the rich nature's spiritual energy, the spiritual pearl above the heavenly dome, which was the array eye of this great formation, burst forth with a fiercely hot golden light as intense as the sun's energy, pierced through the ground, directly targeting the spirit vein. Immediately after, the newly revived spirit vein began to decay rapidly, and the spiritual energy between heaven and earth irreversibly dispersed. The spirit vein was being destroyed. Roar! The earth shattered and mountains collapsed. Centered around the point where the golden light fell, a terrifying shockwave spread out, collapsing mountains after mountains, causing the entire island to violently quake as if it could sink into the vast sea at any moment. In front of Chun Sansi, the earth split into an abyss with no visible end. The entire process was unstoppable, unable to be interfered with by anyone. It lasted for an entire hour. Finally, the sprite-like deer reappeared, with all the remaining spiritual energy in heaven and earth contracting and condensing onto its body, whereupon the spirit of the vein's body completely disintegrated, turning into specks of light that integrated into the spiritual pearl in the heavenly dome. The golden light extinguished. The formation dissipated. The spiritual pearl transformed into a flowing light and fell back into Chun Sansi's hands, where he immediately felt the profound spiritual power within it. The spirit root wasn't completely destroyed. A considerable part of it was absorbed into the spiritual pearl. At this moment, the spiritual pearl is equivalent to a first-rank spirit vein. Chapter 463. The Human World Guardian, Longqing goes to Nansu. Gui Qi. Just as the formation extinguished, the entire ends of the earth were enveloped by a sound as grand as the ringing of a great bell. Where did you get this destructive spirit array? Who on earth are you? This spirit vein might very well be one of the 4 grand ancestor veins of the Eastern continent. Your actions have destroyed the fortunes of countless beings, ruined the destiny of countless people. Ancestor veins. Why does it sound so serious? Chun Sansi held the bead, feeling the rich spiritual energy within. The ancestor vein of heaven and earth. The Eastern continent. Is it referring to the continent they are on? And who is the person speaking? Despite Chun Sansi's exceptionally keen senses, he could not discern the specific direction of the voice, feeling only its omnipresence. The pressure it exuded was almost unbearable for him. The voice ceased. Above the Tianya Sea, the void split open, and slowly a great transmission array materialized. Gui Qi, you can't escape. Behind the transmission array, one after another, white-robed sword immortals flew out, heading straight for the mask-wearing old demon on the ground. Sword Qi roiled, spirit light flashed, resembling sword immortals from the immortal realm, descending to punish. Swords fell like torrential rain. A gale swept through. The black robe of the ghost-faced demon billowed as he stood his ground unmoving. Only when the sky full of sword Qi approached did he fiercely swing the purple gold hammer in his hands. His true power was wildly violent, shattering the sword Qi in an instant. Beneath the surging true power, several sword cultivators were directly turned into minced meat. In the night sky, clusters of blood mist exploded, akin to red spider lilies blossoming in the netherworld. More and more red spider lilies bloomed, until they filled the entire night sky, transforming the Tianya Sea into the underworld, 9 netherworld, like a netherworld purgatory or the abyss of all gods. Form up. Hum. Over 100 sword cultivators arranged themselves into a formation. They all let go of their sword handles, allowing their flying swords to hover in front of their chests. Then they began to mold seals and chant, the sky full of incantations like the immortal court Luo Fu. The golden flying swords in the sky connected to form a curtain of sword rain, transforming continuously until a giant sword that spanned heaven and earth appeared above. It then plummeted rapidly toward the ground, as if to pierce through the island. On the ground, countless golden iron chains surged forth like serpents, entwining the ghost-faced demon within and binding him tightly in place, rendering him incapable of breaking free. At the same time, the Tenjonglong great sword also plummeted swiftly, its emitted might causing the ocean to roar and waves to surge, on the verge of completely suppressing the demon and grinding him into dust. In the blink of an eye between life and death, a glint of cold light flashed in front of Gui Qi, and then, a silver dragon was born. The golden iron chains shattered inch by inch. The silver dragon emerged from the deep sea, soaring to the heavens 90,000 miles high. Rumble. The great sword. The silver dragon. Mana. The tsunami. The ground shook and the mountains trembled. In the core region, Zhao Zhao's hair was disheveled in the gale, clinging to a boulder to avoid being blown away. Master. If before there had been a 99% chance that this person was Sun Xiangzong, then when the silver spear revealed itself there was no longer any doubt. Gui Qi was Sun Xiangzong. Sun Xiangzong was Gui Qi. A few breaths later, the silver dragon triumphed, and the huge sword shattered. Countless sword immortals fell from the sky, smashing onto the ground or plunging into the sea. Gui Qi, who exactly are you? Above the dome, behind the largest transmission array, the voice full of command sounded once again. Hee. The ghost-faced demon sneered, gripping the silver dragon in hand, then rose into the air and stood before the transmission array. Each word thundered like lightning. Eastern Continent Guardian. Sun Xiangzong. Guardian. The voice behind the transmission array was shocked and angry. You demons of the demon path, your sins enrage heaven and earth, deserving to have your souls scattered and never reincarnated. Impotent rage. Sun Xiangzong stood with his spear, staring straight at the transmission array and shouted authoritatively. Do you dare to come out and exchange a few moves with this old man? Old fool. Do you dare to come in? Do you dare to come out? You come in. Come out. Old fool, prepare to die. Rumble. A giant purple hand slowly stretched out from the transmission array, bringing with it supreme might. As if with a snap of a finger it could turn the entire island to dust. Some fortune-seeking individuals on the ground nearby died on the spot, their livers and gallbladders splitting in fear. However, upon coming into contact with this world, the might of the giant hand began to rapidly weaken, until it completely left the transmission array, its power having diminished to less than 1% of its original strength. Boom! The silver spear, like a silver dragon being born, collided with the giant hand, shattering it. The cloaked demon was sent flying back hundreds of yards, before steadying himself midair and spoke coldly. "Old bastard, are you coming out or not? An ant that dares to make noise only because it is suppressed by the heavenly way." The voice of the great cultivator behind the transmission array was furious. "Cultivators of Daysfang City, listen up. This man is but an ordinary martial artist with his lifespan nearly depleted. You need not fear him, swarm him, and you will surely capture him. Whoever brings me Guichi's head will be allowed into the upper sect and enjoy the treatment of a true disciple." Buzz! Inside the dome's transmission array, dozens of cultivators swarmed out, and from Daysfang City's transmission array, over 100 loose cultivators arrived. But they saw Sun Xiangzong not fleeing but attacking instead. He directly grabbed a cultivator who could control the entrance, barged into the transmission array of Daysfang City, and disappeared from sight. He dares to enter the cultivation world? Seeking death. Chase him. Thud thud. After several sounds like war drums, the cultivators above Tianyasi had all vanished without a trace. In the valley, the boundary's talismans began to gradually dissipate. "Quick, let's go." Chun Sansi understood it was not wise to linger here, so he pulled Ning Xiang up and they took off. Chapter 464. The Human World Guardian, Longqing goes to Nansu_2. The spirit vein was destroyed. The majority of cultivators had gone after Guichi, but there were definitely others who would come this way to check the situation, especially since everyone had just seen that the ancestor vein was here. Sure enough, after rushing out of the valley, they were faced with two cultivators at the Qi refining first and second levels. Two Taoist fellows. An elderly man leaning on a cane said, "Did you discover anything here just now?" "What discovery? Discover what?" Chun Sansi was completely perplexed. Feigning ignorance, the other middle-aged man immediately pinched his fingers together and cast a spell, shooting out a fireball. A moment ago, under the destructive spirit array, even the islands were almost collapsing. Ordinary cultivators would be completely destroyed even if they got close. Yet these two people were in the valley, and not even their hair was disheveled. Something must be amiss. The thick earth decision was activated, and they easily blocked the fireball. The golden light flying knife followed, directly slicing off the middle-aged man's head. The old man bellowed angrily, and his cane transformed into a flying snake. In an instant, it was upon them, its huge mouth open showing sharp fangs wrapped in thick poison fog, ready to poison a living person before swallowing them. Ning Xiang's gentle and careless actions caused the silver ring on her wrist to float in front of her, releasing a clear, bell-like sound, blocking all the poison fog and the flying snake, and then flew away with a faint purple light. The elderly cultivator couldn't retract his hand in time and died on the spot. They have treasures in their possession. Several more cultivators arrived, all thinking the two had obtained some treasure in the valley. Their eyes red with greed, lunging forward like hyenas smelling blood. These people didn't belong to any power. They simply wanted to play the robbers, clearly without any grievances. Poochie. Chun Sansi took out a long spear from his storage bag, directly smashed a cultivator's head, and with his other hand, pinched a technique to condense sword chi skill, piercing through another cultivator who tried to attack them sneakily. On the other side, there were also two father and son cultivators who went to encircle and kill Ning Xiang. Song. Strike. This woman definitely has good items on her. The middle-aged cultivator used ice magic, conjuring two ice spurs, one like an arrow shot out, and the other held as a weapon for close combat. Buzz. Ning Xiang manipulated the silver ring to block the ice spear. "Dad, your son is here to help you." The young cultivator held a purple light magic weapon flying sword in his hand, attempting to circle to the side for a sneak attack, just about to make his move. He made eye contact with a pair of very beautiful eyes. "Young lady." The middle-aged cultivator held the ice cone, locked in a deadlock with the silver ring. He could clearly feel that the opponent's mana was rapidly weakening, and a grim smile couldn't help but form at the corner of his mouth. "Hand over the treasure, and I'll spare your life. How about it?" Ning Xiang did not speak, only manipulating her mana desperately, her delicate body gradually beginning to tremble. The middle-aged cultivator grew even more desperate. Ancestor Vein. The land of the Ancestor Vein. The two had come out from the land of the Ancestor Vein. Who knows what kind of treasure they might have. Maybe after obtaining the treasure, their family could also buy a plot with a spirit vein, spread their branches and leaves in the cultivation world, and establish a cultivation family. Ungrate Fool, die. The middle-aged cultivator held the ice cone in his right hand. His left hand was free, and as mana was added, frost formed on the surface of his skin, making a crackling noise, eventually transforming into an ice claw, ready to take the female cultivator's life. It was at this moment The female cultivator suddenly cried out in a pitiable way to someone behind him, "Young master, save me." "What?" The middle-aged cultivator realized something was amiss. He turned his head and saw a purple light flying sword chopping towards him. "Son, what are you doing?" "Old fool, die." "Poochie." The middle-aged cultivator was solidly struck by a sword. "Sorceress, you this enchantress, I will." In his moment of distraction, he also made eye contact with those very attractive eyes. Instantly, his spirit was swayed. The middle-aged cultivator turned around and charged at the young cultivator. "You brat, daring to compete with your father for a woman, if it weren't for your old man, could you have stepped onto the immortal path?" Father and son fought each other, soon both severely injured. Ning Xiang took this opportunity to control the silver ring, taking both of their lives. She herself was also pale, her internal spiritual power nearly depleted. "Be careful." While controlling the silver ring, helping to block a spell attack aimed at a figure in front of her, she reached her limit. Her body softened and she fell backwards, even breathing becoming difficult. Qi refining first level. Using a spell to control a cultivator of a higher realm than oneself was as difficult as ascending to the heavens, relying entirely on her special constitution to succeed. After several rounds of depletion, she could no longer hold on. Fortunately, when Ning Xiang looked up again, she saw corpses of cultivators all over the ground and a blood-covered figure with a spear standing tall. Susu. Cultivators were still approaching from all sides. Chan Sansi didn't dare delay, he didn't even have time to scavenge the bodies. He lifted Ning Xiang onto his back, left the valley before the remaining cultivators arrived, and after shaking off the pursuers, reached the beach. "Zhao Zhao." In her extreme weakness, Ning Xiang spoke in a voice as faint as a mosquito's hum. "If we can't escape, just leave me behind. Take her and go." "What about Master? Didn't he say he would come back for them?" Upon thinking it through, Chun Sansi realized. Maybe Master could also recognize him. And since Southern Ridge Town, Master had worn a mask, not even using his familiar weapon, clearly hiding his identity. But just now, on the dome above, after the third transmission array opened, compelled to use his spear technique, he basically exposed his identity so he simply didn't hide anymore. In such a situation, if he had taken them with him, people would definitely notice, so he chose to return to Daysfang City to attract attention. Chapter 465. The Human World Guardian, Longqing goes to Nansu_3. However, he felt that his master must have left a method to depart from this place, or at least some hints. He traveled all the way to the seaside. Dead bodies of cultivators were everywhere. Those loose cultivators who had survived were now feeling the corpses for treasures, and many fought over the loot, creating a scene of such chaos it was indescribable. Chun Sansi found Zhao Zhao behind a cluster of coastal rocks, half submerged in water. At that moment, Zhao Zhao was clutching a Dharma seal in her hand, looking around nervously. Suddenly, she felt a pair of large hands press down on the back of her neck, and before she could react, she was already lifted off the ground. "It's me," Chun Sansi quickly said as he saw the other was about to react violently. "You didn't even notice me when I got close to you. It's a miracle you're still alive." Zhao Zhao felt severely insulted, but in the end, she didn't know how to retort and could only say, "Hey, Chun Sansi, put me down. I can keep up." Chun Sansi released his grip. Zhao Zhao, with a splash, fell into the seawater, emerging wet and miserable. "Couldn't you have warned me?" "Chun Sansi, you've gone too far. Stop wasting time." Chun Sansi asked, "Did he ever say how we can escape from the ends of the earth? Or is there any safe place to hide? The current chaos. It's unknown how long it will continue. The longer they stayed, the more endless trouble there would be. This is what the demon snatched and then gave to me, saying we should take it and leave first." The thoroughly drenched Zhao Zhao took out a small boat from her flat clothing and then, with a solemn expression, seriously analyzed. "But I think he's definitely not that kind-hearted. There might be traps inside, so we'd better be careful." Obviously, she hadn't realized that Guiqi was Sun Xiangzong. "Hurry, set sail." Chun Sansi, seeing that more cultivators were casting malevolent glances in their direction, barked out an order prompting her to act. "Didn't you hear me? Why are you being so fierce?" Zhao Zhao was startled, her eyes becoming somewhat reddened, but her hands did not stop moving. She immediately followed Guiqi's instructions, pinching gestures, and chanting incantations. The palm-sized wooden boat turned into a streak of light and flew out. Upon landing in the water, it had already transformed into a spirit boat over 2 zhang long. This boat was much smaller compared to Su Youyang's, but it was sufficient for a dozen people to board. Chun Sansi, with Ning Xiang on his back and one hand holding Zhao Zhao, lightly leaped onto the deck and then dropped the two of them there. Last of all, Qian Sun himself jumped aboard the spirit boat. After getting up, Zhao Zhao took out a spirit stone from her bosom, placed it on the mechanism of the spirit boat, and then, biting her silver teeth, she infused mana into it. Under her control, the spirit boat smoothly set sail. Hum! An orange-yellow boundary unfolded. Under the cover of this boundary, the spirit boat exhibited incredible speed, and within just a few breaths, the crowd on the coast had shrunk to the size of ants in their eyes. As they submerged into a boundless dense fog, The boundary emitted a crackling sound, warding off the outside erosion, and everything entered a state of stability. Chen Sansi was finally able to sit down on the deck. Seeing the strenuous look on Zhao Zhao's face, he worriedly stated, "You won't steer the boat off course and head to some other place, will you?" The vast ocean. A slight error in navigation could lead to a world of difference in destination. This place was profoundly mysterious, and it was possible to even reach another continent. Zhao Zhao, still dripping onto the deck, replied irritably, "Then why don't you steer?" "Forget it." Chen Sansi guessed that his master must have taught her, so he did not argue further. Finally winning a round, Zhao Zhao felt a lot more comfortable. Phew! Chen Sansi lay on the deck, repeatedly recalling the events that had just unfolded in his mind. The Eastern Continent, Guardian, Ancestor Vein. All these things sounded incredibly mystic. Half a year ago, in Chen Sansi's mind, his master was just a martial artist above the martial saint realm. Looking at it now, the old man had probably been facing a much vaster world for a long time. Behind the emperor and others, there must be even greater secrets. And it was mentioned before. This spirit vein was one of the 4 ancestor veins, meaning that this continent, referred to as the Eastern Continent, might have other spirit veins yet to awaken. His master's identity was forced to be exposed. With such a commotion, it was likely that soon the whole world would know. Human world guardian. Guardian? What is it guarding? The immortals called his master, the old man, a demon. All this, could it be related to Mr. Mei? Chen Sansi felt the Xianzhu in his bosom, which still contained an elusive power he could not activate. His greatest concern was his master's safety. He could have left straight away. It was completely to cover for himself to go back and draw attention, but worrying was useless. He was still too weak. Not to mention the high realm cultivators, even facing a chi refining middle stage cultivator would be enough trouble. After returning, he would indeed need to break through to the martial saint realm as soon as possible. With this in mind, Chen Sansi felt ashamed even lying down, so he immediately took out the tiger head golden spear from his storage bag and began practicing. In a blink, several days had passed. With the help of the nourishing pills, his proficiency grew daily.
Cultivation technique, National Gardien Dragon Spear.
Mysterious phenomenon, proficient. Progress, 398/1000. At this rate, once he returned to Liangzhou, he would be close to achieving a small achievement, and within half a year he could reach great success and strive for a breakthrough towards the martial saint realm. This boat was slightly faster than the larger one. About 8 days later, they passed through the dense fog and arrived on the normal open sea. Looking into the distance, they could see civilian fishing boats hard at work. Chapter 466. The Human World Guardian, Longqing goes to Nansu_4. This, for you. Having recovered, Ning Xiang brought over a brand new flying sword. Keep your own spoils, Chen Sansi said casually. Really? Without being too polite, Ning Xiang stepped forward to massage his shoulders. How about that? After this trip, Mistress and the General are pretty much comrades in life and death. Chen Sansi didn't speak, his hands fiddling with a spiritual pearl that contained a spirit vein. This thing, it was equivalent to a first-rank mid-grade spirit vein. He just didn't know if it could be used. He was somewhat worried that it might have other uses, and using it for cultivation could affect its future effect. Better to wait until the master returns to discuss it. That night, at dusk, the sea was dyed red under the afterglow of the setting sun. At the port's dock, everything was as it had been before. Fishermen counted their catch. Soldiers checked everyone thoroughly. Anyone who tried to secretly take away treasure fish, spirit fish, or hadn't gathered enough mandated quotas would be beaten lightly and forced back into the sea, or at worst, sent directly to the army. Under the revival of the spirit vein, this sea area, who knows how many treasure fish, how many treasure medicines, and exotic beasts the mountains would give birth to. Not long after, Nansu's overall strength was likely to greatly increase. This was probably also Nansu's chance. Why did the spirit vein revive inside their territory? Nanling town is under martial law. Ning Xiang went to investigate the situation and quickly came back. Nansu's 100,000 troops have set up camp nearby, encircling the area so tightly, nothing gets through, and everywhere there are wanted orders by Supervisor Sun. They're martial saints like Zhong who have also arrived. Another 100,000? Su, Shang, Qi, and Qing, being major nations, could mobilize over 2 million troops each with sufficient provisions, which was within expectations. As for the master's wanted order, it must have been notified by cultivators. How to leave this place and then return to Dashing without any obstacles had become the primary problem. At this moment in Nanling town, not only were ordinary people unable to leave, but cultivators also had to go through strict inspections. Most crucially, none of the cultivators even wanted to leave this place. After all, many cultivators from Daisfang City were fighting in the mountains and seas, aiming to capture spiritual beasts and spirit fish to exchange for spirit stones. Going back to the workshop city was reasonable, but anyone heading in the opposite direction would be entering Desu, then Dashing, which is a mundane world, and not a single person intended to go to the mundane world. Chen Sansi and his group had no choice but to temporarily stay at an inn. Fortunately, Lai Zi had made an appearance here earlier, and the innkeeper vouched for him as a seeker of immortals, so the cultivators did not cause too much trouble. Even so, they were required to stay until Sun Xiangzong's whereabouts were discovered, and no one was allowed to leave. Dashing. Capital City. Since the chaos at Ziwei Mountain, 3 months after the imperial return to the capital, the crown prince passed away in Xining Palace. All his offspring left the capital city for remote fiefs. Princes Qin and Qi were unscathed in the chaos and formally began to participate in state affairs. Only they knew, it was their eldest brother who had not struck the fatal blow. Born from the same root. Why be so eager to annihilate each other? After saying these words, the crown prince left in their presence. Born from the same root. Why be so eager to annihilate each other? Well said indeed. No wonder the eldest brother failed. He was too merciful. Princes Qin and Qi were brimming with vigor. But once the dust settled, the sixth prince ended a decade-long confinement and returned to court immediately, quickly gathering a large following of old officials and supporters, with Old 12 assisting him from behind, creating a formidable presence. As for His Majesty the Emperor, since returning, he had been intermittently secluding himself for cultivation, stronger than ever before. Longevity Palace. Your Majesty, there's a big issue. Stop! The Chamberlain eunuch Huang Hong stopped the messenger and took the letter himself to deliver it into the main hall. Behind the curtain, Emperor Longqing spoke in a deep voice. Read it. Have we found that Zhang Lai? After his return to the capital, he summarized information from multiple sources. The more carefully he calculated, the more clear it became. This Zhang Lai was playing both sides. First, he got benefits from the incense fire divine sect. Then, taking advantage of the chaos at Ziwei Palace, he took the Grand Ancestor relics. Those were the possessions of his Chao family. Among them definitely lied the magic skill to enter the immortal realm. How could he tolerate it falling into the hands of others? Your Majesty, Zhang Lai is still being searched for. No news yet. This document, Huang Hong's voice trembled slightly, is about the whereabouts of Supervisor Sunday. Him, the Emperor said impassively. Tell me, where has he been hiding these past years? Supervisor Sun, he's at the ends of the earth. Huang Hong paused, then relayed the information precisely. What did you say? The curtain was lifted. Emperor Longqing came down from the high platform, clenching his horsetail whisk, digesting the information. The ends of the earth is in Nansu. The opening that occurs every 50 years just happened recently. Sun Xiangzong destroyed the spirit vein. Your Majesty, Huang Hong continued. According to the cultivators from Nanling Town, Supervisor Sun did indeed single-handedly destroy the spirit vein, killing many cultivators. His level in the martial arts realm is now unfathomable. If he... Emperor Longqing looked towards the Dragon Abyss sword behind the curtain. His breathing momentarily disordered, then returning to calm, he said nonchalantly. He is my brother, and now he doesn't have much time left. No need to be overly suspicious. Where is he now? Still at the ends of the earth. Huang Hong replied. There is a large force of immortals planning to kill him, and Nansu has also dispatched 100,000 troops there. Think of a way for me. Chapter 467. The Human World Guardian. Longqing goes to Nansu_5. Emperor Longqing said, how should we intervene in this matter? Your Majesty, I'm afraid this may be difficult. Huang Hong said worriedly. The location of Nanling Town is at the southeasternmost point of Nansu, with no telling how many mountains and waters lie in between. It is almost impossible for the army to get there in a short time. And now there are immortals there. Even sending our best experts from within the palace would be futile. Emperor Longqing pondered. From what you say, Sun Xiangzong's chances are slim? This slave has no idea. Huang Hong bowed with his head down. But since Supervisor Sun has dared to go, he must have some assurance. No. Emperor Longqing paced to the front of the Great Hall, looking in the direction of Liang Zhou as if he had made some decision. I want to see for myself what he is doing. Your Majesty? Huang Hong followed the Emperor all the way to where they were now, sharing an unspoken understanding. Could it be that you announced to the outside that I am in seclusion for cultivation, and let no word of this leak? Emperor Longqing gave the order. Also, have Lao Lu temporarily assume the role of supervisor. Your Majesty, you mustn't. Your Majesty. Huang Hong attempted to dissuade him. You, the Heavenly Son, are of immeasurable worth. How can you risk yourself like this? Wong. Emperor Longqing nodded his head and said in a deep voice, the doors to the immortal realm are before me. How could I not explore them personally? This slave is useless. Hung Hong was filled with shame, unable to share the worries of my master. That's enough, my mind is made up. Emperor Longqing flicked his horsetail whisk, changing his clothes and appearance to another person. He threw down the whisk, and with a buzz of dragon-like hum, a flash of golden light fell into his hands, which settled to reveal none other than the Dragon Abyss sword left behind by the Grand Ancestor. Your Majesty, Huang Hong expressed his concern. Shouldn't we dispatch a few attendants to follow you? A bunch of burdens. Emperor Longqing soared on his sword, vanishing into the sky in the blink of an eye.
Nang Su,
Nanling Town. Chun Sansi had been trapped here for the better part of half a month. He saw with his own eyes a martial saint from Nansu and a cultivator who had achieved qi refining perfection walking on the streets, apparently having reached some kind of cooperation. It was said that Nansu was thrilled. They were preparing to help the cultivator's trap son Xiangzong to death here and then immediately lead their forces northward. What is to be done? Zhao Zhao was leaning on the table, fiddling with the spirit boat that had reverted to the size to fit in the palm of her hand, occasionally drawing circles with it in midair. As she declared, only the master could command this spirit boat. The original owner's marks had been erased, and now Zhao Zhao was the master, making it truly hers. Indeed, Ning Xiang pondered a plan. Continuing to be trapped like this is not a solution. What if I find a high official from Nansu, or control an early-stage cultivator to help us leave? Not wise. Chun Sansi dismissed the suggestion. Ning Xiang's charming technique was useful, but with her own low level of cultivation, she could easily be seen through by those of higher realms, which would only invite bigger risks. The best way was to find a method to stir chaos among them. But for that, his power was probably insufficient, so he could only watch quietly for any changes, while not wasting time. During these days, he practiced with his spear in the courtyard every day.
Cultivation technique, National Gardien Dragon Spear.
Mysterious phenomenon, proficient. Progress, 598/1000. Huff, only when completely exhausted. Did Chun Sansi stop, storing the tiger head golden spear in his storage bag, then strapping a knife to his waist and heading out to see if today's guard was any less strict, and if there was a chance to escape. The answer he got was negative. The entire Nanling town, inside and out for 200 li, maintained a permitted to enter, forbidden to leave status. The reason was that Sun Xiangzong might disguise himself as anyone to leave. Unless Sun Xiangzong was confirmed to be truly within Daesfang City, everyone had to wait, no matter how long it took. Forget it. I'll think of some other way. Chun Sansi returned to the inn, planning to order some exotic beast dishes. Just at that moment, a sword cultivator glided through the sky and slowly descended outside the inn. For Nanling Town as it was now, this should have been an ordinary sight. But Chun Sansi was startled, because he clearly recognized the flying sword beneath the feet of the cultivator. No, it was not just familiar. It was the Dragon Abyss sword. It had gone through a simple disguise, but Chun Sansi, with his eidetic memory, wouldn't forget any detail. In fact, there were few who had seen the Dragon Abyss sword, so its disguise was somewhat moot. If it weren't for coincidentally encountering him, no one would recognize it. More than that, even if his eyes were mistaken, the sensation from the Shenju in his chest couldn't be wrong. The Dragon Abyss sword, the Emperor, what was he doing here? Was he coming for his master, or for the immortal realm? Chun Sansi's heart grew tense. The old Emperor. Was he here to help his master or to harm him? For a moment, he even felt an impulse to rush back to Daesfang City and somehow get the news to his master. But reason told him he mustn't do that. The master didn't forcefully break out to leave, intending to help them conceal their identities first, and rashly going against the arrangement could not only fail to be of any help but might even bring about a negative impact. And do not forget, no matter how high the cultivation, his master, the national commander of the 8 camps, the renowned supervisor Sun Dashuai. And now he himself was also a second-rank national guardian general. They were both commanders of troops. They could not act rashly. But then, Emperor Longqing, disguised as an ordinary aging cultivator, casually waved his hand to stow the Dragon Abyss sword into his sleeve, and then stepped boldly into the lobby of the inn. This was bad. Chun Sansi was operating in this place under the guise of Lai Zi, though the Emperor had never seen him in person. The distinctive appearance was ultimately noticeable, and being near the ends of the earth. He lowered his head, pretending to act nonchalant, with the intention of leaving the place before anything else. Chapter 468. The Human World Guardian, Longqing goes to Nansu_6. Taoist, please halt. However, the elderly cultivator still took the initiative to approach. Chun Sansi stopped in his tracks. What is it that you wish to discuss? Taoist? There was no need to be overly anxious, though. Even if the old emperor harbored suspicions, at most he would just test the waters. He certainly wouldn't dare to make a move here. This place was in the heartland of Nansu, with an army of 100,000 and the martial saint outside, plus the immortals collaborating with Nansu. Should Emperor Daxing's identity be exposed, the consequences were easy to imagine. My surname is Su, with a single name of Liao, the elderly cultivator said with a cupped fist salute. I wish to inquire about some matters with you, Taoist. May I have a word with you in private? Whatever it is, just say it here. Chun Sansi remained unmoved. To be honest, I am a seeker of immortality and I wish to ask for directions to the ends of the earth, said the elderly cultivator as he retrieved a spirit stone from his sleeve. Please accept this as a gesture, Taoist. This? Chun Sansi accepted the spirit stone. You simply need to go to the dock and look for a ferry boat. I have already searched, the elderly cultivator said calmly. They say there will be no boats coming soon, and even if there were, one would need a jade token to enter the workshop. Have you ever seen such a token, Taoist? He was indeed probing. Heh, if I had such an item, would I still be hesitating here? Chun Sansi had intended to openly claim he was a loose cultivator from within the workshop. But a simple inquiry by the emperor would reveal the lie, so it was better to play dumb for now. However, holding the spirit stone given by the other party. Given your generous manner, Taoist, you must be quite wealthy. Even if you don't have a jade token, you could use spirit stones to access the teleportation array of Daysfang City and enter the cultivation world just the same. The only difficulty is finding a ferry boat to cross the river. I see. The elderly cultivator, now going by the name Su Liao, nodded thoughtfully. We are both seekers of immortality, and meeting here today is surely fate. I'd like to know your esteemed surname and where you hail from so that we may count each other as friends should we meet again. My name is Zhang Shun, Chun Sansi said with a cupped fist salute. Just a local from Nansu. And where are you from, if I may ask? I hail from Daqing. The elderly cultivator did not persist in the conversation. Since Taoist is busy, I won't bother you further. Fate willing, we shall meet again. Farewell. Chun Sansi saluted with his fist and left, a plan for slipping away forming in his mind. Emperor Longqing stood rooted to the spot, quietly watching the unsightly loose cultivator depart. Several times, he nearly drew the dragon abyss sword to take the man's head and demonstrate his imperial authority. 80%. He was 80% convinced that this man was Zhang Lai. He had stolen from his Chao family and now came seeking the way of immortality. But on this trip, Emperor Longqing had also managed to clarify a few things. The items left behind by his ancestor were likely the jade token and a cultivation method. The former could be compensated with spirit stones, while the latter he had already obtained. The most important dragon abyss sword was not lost. In this light, the loss wasn't too severe. This person deserved death the most, but he couldn't risk revealing his identity by acting here and now. He had even more important matters to attend to. After contemplating thrice, Emperor Longqing chose to let the man go for the time being. When night fell, he went back to the docks, searching for a ferry boat to the Tianya Sea. 2 spirit stones. An old man leading a donkey appeared quietly. I can show you a clear path for that price. Emperor Longqing knew the other party's asking price was very high. But in his urgency, he didn't care about the spirit stones and immediately handed them over. Hehe. Mo Zhu accepted the spirit stones. He had only returned to the workshop recently when he heard that the demon Guiqi had broken into the market, scaring him into hastily hiding for 2 days. He hadn't expected that there would still be business to do, which was wonderfully surprising. He cleared his throat. These past few days there have been very few ferry boats. However, I just saw a young female cultivator returning on a spirit boat. Taoist friend, you can try asking her. As long as the spirit stones are sufficient, there should be no problem. Without another word, Emperor Longqing searched along the coastal dock. Very soon, he found a female cultivator who had just disembarked from the ferry, appearing to be of a young girl's age, not very old. Taoist friend, Emperor Longqing spoke. I wonder if you could ferry me across? Not ferrying. The girl shook her head. The ends of the earth are in chaos. I've only just returned. 5 spirit stones. Emperor Longqing said. It's not a matter of spirit stones. The girl still refused. It's really 10 spirit stones. Emperor Longqing raised the price. Little lady, or you could sell your boat to me, and I will go by myself. That's not possible. The girl hastily replied. I rely on it to catch spirit fish in the workshop. It's my livelihood. I cannot sell it no matter what. How about this? I'll remotely pilot the boat for you, and I won't go with you. How's that? Agreed. Emperor Longqing consented. He took out the spirit stones and gave them to her, then boarded the spirit boat. With the activation of the spirit stones, the spirit boat began to move. Before long, it entered the vast sea, until it was completely engulfed by the heavy fog. This fog. Emperor Longqing, watching the glowing boundary of the spirit boat, grew vigilant until he was sure there were no problems, and then he focused on looking ahead. It wasn't that he trusted cultivators easily, but under the circumstances of not revealing his identity, there should be no foes in this place. Even if the cultivation world was full of cunning and deceit, it wouldn't mean that treachery awaited him at every turn. And the young female cultivator from earlier was only at the chi refining first level. Should she try anything sneaky, he could exterminate her in the snap of a finger. Daysfang City. Emperor Longqing stared into the dense fog ahead, his gaze deep. This journey was not just about Sun Xiangzong. If he could take this opportunity to gain control of the channel to freely travel the cultivation world and gain a foothold there, in the future, he could enhance his strength in secret without being controlled by others. Thinking so, Emperor Longqing clearly sensed the speed of the spirit boat slow down. A flash of spirit light. The spirit boat suddenly began to shrink rapidly. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared, and he, now outside the protection of the boundary, was immediately enveloped by the dense fog. Emperor Longqing crushed a talisman to form a defensive boundary around himself. The engulfing fog made a crackling sound, as if countless sharp-fanged teeth were gnawing at the boundary. Courting death. Emperor Longqing was not angered. He wasn't about to fall to such a childish trick, though it meant a delay. A strong intent to kill arose in his heart as he prepared to fly back out of the fog to settle accounts with the female cultivator. Just then, in the midst of the fog, he saw another boat approaching faintly. Chapter 469. Hungza camp at full strength, preparing for war on the grasslands. Emperor Longqing hovered in the thick mist. The crack-crack sound of the mist attacking the barrier rang in his ears. He didn't make any rash moves, cautiously watching the approaching ships through the dense fog. Esteemed Taoist, we are cultivators from the Jiutian sect. Who are you? State your name. Beams of golden light shone through, tearing apart the curtain-like dense fog. A spirit boat was anchored, with several sword cultivators standing on it. My surname is Su, first name Liao. Emperor Longqing spoke calmly. I am a loose cultivator from Daqing. Having heard that the immortal gates have recently opened wide, I have specifically come to seek immortals and inquire about the Tao. Do you esteemed Taoists have any matter with me? Su Liao. The leading sword cultivator spared no courtesy, sternly shouting, Gui Qi, tear off your human skin mask. Gui Qi? At first Emperor Longqing was puzzled. Then he quickly understood. Surely, it was that Zhang Lizi who recognized him and led the immortals here to surround and kill him. No, he had used the disguise technique, and even the surface of his dragon abyss sword was disguised. How did that scabby-headed fellow recognize him? Esteemed Taoists, Emperor Longqing explained, I am not Gui Qi, truly just someone seeking immortal wisdom. Enough talk. The sword cultivator wiped across his eyes with 2 fingers. Purple light burst forth from his eyes, and he saw through the other's disguise technique at once. As expected, a changed appearance. Take him back for the law enforcement hall to interrogate thoroughly. This was Nan Su territory. If he really fell into the hands of these people, would there still be a chance to escape? Esteemed Taoists, could you grant me some convenience? Emperor Longqing paused. And spare yourselves a future path. How arrogant. Take him down. Buzz, buzz, buzz. 5 or 6 sword cultivators sealed and cast spells. Spiritual power surged, forming a vast sea of magic. Above the boundless sea of delusion, within the sky-obscuring mist, Emperor Longqing stood suspended in air. Dragon abyss unsheathed, splitting the seas. Nanling town. Quick! A fight has started at sea. It is indeed Gui Qi. Take him down. In the air, dense throngs of cultivators flew high, shooting towards the sea, and the perimeter security suddenly thinned. Let's go quickly. Chun Sansi led Ning Xiang and another, hastily making their way to the small path between the mountains and forests. He had been worried about how to escape, but with the old emperor delivering himself to their doorstep, he naturally had to make good use of it. If he could trap him to death here, all the better, but it wouldn't matter even if he couldn't. On the small path between the mountains and forests, originally blocked by 5 to 6 cultivators for checks, now only one person was left and he looked sneaky. Humph! A few spirit stones a month, for me to risk my life. As he grumbled, Chun Sansi and others with murderous intent appeared. The men looked at each other in disbelief. A moment later, the cultivator, knowing what's good for him, treated them like air and chased after his fellow disciples. Wait for me! Chun Sansi and his group managed to escape smoothly. After leaving Nanling town, Qin Changshu and others greeted them and headed straight to Waterpool Yang Mountain. In a blink of an eye, several days passed. Days Fong City, Steward Hall. Slap! Su Yuliang firmly pasted a brand new wanted poster on the bulletin board. Bounty. Sword cultivator Su Liao. Reward. 2,000 spirit stones. Taoist. As the newly appointed law enforcement cultivator of Days Fong City, Lu Buqin asked, this person? Yes, it's that loose cultivator who killed more than 20 cultivators of the upper sect on the sea a few days ago. His identity is still unclear, and now he's very likely hiding within Days Fong City. Su Yuliang said with deep concern. Things have been really chaotic lately. Even the old ancestors from the upper sect have made a move. If we don't find this person, and the old ancestor gets angry, our entire workshop might be razed to the ground. Better be prepared to run away in advance. That's serious? Lu Buqin's heart tightened. Could you tell me what this human world guardian of the eastern continent, mentioned by Gui Qi, really means? Why is the old ancestor from the upper sect so furious? The eastern continent, Su Yuliang said, probably refers to that world sealed outside. As for the human world guardian, I haven't heard of it either. Tea house. Taoist, the tea here all comes from the Spirit Plant Master's top-grade spirit tea, like our signature Azure Dragon tea, which not only tastes excellent but also has a calming effect and greatly benefits cultivation. How about a pot? Only 5 spirit stones. The elderly cultivator with white hair coughed weakly and took out a few spirit crystals from his pocket. 1 pot of vitality-nourishing tea will suffice. Just the Azure Dragon tea. Clack! 5 spirit stones gently tapped on the table. Another elderly cultivator with graying hair appeared quietly. All right, Taoists, please wait a moment, the server said, taking the spirit stones and going to brew the tea. The elderly cultivator sat down across from him. Guiqi did not look up, only coughed and stuffed 2 elixir pills into his mouth. This is buying healing elixir pills with all the spirit stones. The elderly cultivator said leisurely. Not even enough left for a cup of tea? Guiqi didn't respond, swallowed the elixir pills, and then closed his eyes to meditate. Both of them had disguised themselves as well-known local loose cultivators and would not be found out in the short term. Soon, the freshly brewed top-grade spirit tea was brought to the table. The server poured it for them. Inside the teacup, green leaves accompanied by spirit light whirled in the water, truly resembling an azure dragon. Good tea. Chao Kai picked up the teacup, took a gentle sip, and immediately heaped praise. Bitter but not astringent, the aroma is refreshing and enduring, like a spring passing through upon entering the mouth. The spirit energy twists and nourishes the body. Indeed, something only immortals can enjoy. The cultivation world is truly a good place. It's just like back in the day when you took a fancy to a spear in the weapon shop, and it was me who paid for it for you. Chao Kai. I've been curious about something. Chapter 470. Hongza camp at full strength, preparing for battle on the grassland _2. Sun Xiangzong slowly opened his eyes and spoke in a hoarse voice. Can you sleep? Chao Kai's hand, holding the teacup, stiffened, and his expression instantly darkened. Never mind, it's redundant for this old man to ask you. Sun Xiangzong didn't drink the Azure Dragon tea but insisted on drinking his vitality-nourishing tea. You got what you wished for, and now you have found this place again. You can continue to strive for your eternal glory. It's not just for that. Chao Kai put down the teacup. How can I not come to assist when an old brother is in distress? There's no need for you. Sun Xiangzong spoke indifferently. I can handle it myself. Back then, I said the same thing and couldn't stop you either, said Chao Kai. At these words, the 2 centenarians looked at each other and laughed. But this laugh contained more of a cold chuckle, filled with a multitude of emotions, which ultimately turned to vicissitudes of life. You have protected me for a lifetime. Hum. As they spoke, the dragon abyss sword was slowly drawn from its sheath. The sound of the sword was like dragon roars, deafening. Now, I am no longer that powerless prince. Let me protect you this time. As you wish. A silver dragon climbed out from the ring, circled around the white-haired old man a few times before landing in his hand, transforming into a bright silver long spear. The cultivators sipping tea in the tea house cast sidelong glances and then fled the place trembling with fear. 2 centenarian elders, one with a spear and the other with a sword, stepped side by side into the workshop. I have figured it out for you. The oldest ancestor of the upper sect will take at least half an hour to arrive here. Within half an hour, we can fight our way out. Liangshan water pool. Aboard the warship, Chun Sansi wielded the long spear in his hands, trying his best to control it to minimize damage to the ship's deck, while around him a spiraling Gangchi tornado formed, significantly distorting the air so much that it was hard to see the figure within. As time went on, within this killing gang, slowly, strands of different Gangchi began to emerge. Profound image realm small achievement. Martial artists who reached this realm could, through the ultimate control of Gangchi, form a Gangchi barrier around them, which is protective Gangchi, impervious to swords and spears, water and fire. Of course, that is if there is enough Gangchi. With the assistance of immortal pills, these 2 breakthroughs caused Chun Sansi little suffering. This latest breakthrough required more of a patient and meticulous effort. Protective Gangchi mainly serves as a defense. But his Gangchi, which blended the true dragon gang with the white tiger killing gang, was mainly characterized by a fierce offensive nature, extremely violent, making it extremely difficult to control and form into protective Gangchi. Even with Chun Sansi's utmost effort, the spiraling Gangchi could not help but disperse after maintaining for about a dozen breaths, resembling Kalong dragons and fierce tigers as they roared and bellowed with impressive force. Boom, boom, boom. The deck exploded with chips flying everywhere. Again, Chun Sansi took a deep breath and started practicing again from the beginning. The second time, the third time. My lord, Qin Changshu prompted softly. If this continues, we will have to change ships. Chun Sansi, engrossed in his training, then realized that his destruction had left the deck in tatters. He simply ordered to go ashore and practiced in the woods, and then would ride Qian Sun to catch up with the fleet. Finally, he gradually found the steadiness brought by the Xuanwu breath, and with this force, he forcefully suppressed both the white tiger killing gang and the true dragon gang, until he could control the 2 types of Gangchi around his body for a long time. Protective Gangchi. No matter how much he suppressed it, the killing nature of the 2 Gangchi could not be eliminated. Thus, the protective Gangchi that twined around Chun Sansi's body was exceptional, not merely a barrier formed by simple Gangchi condensation, but as if fierce tigers and true dragons were intertwined, a protective chi that was also a path of killing. Cultivation technique. National Guardian Dragon Spear. Profound image. Small achievement. Progress. 0/2000. Utility. Dragon Roar and Tiger Roar. Mixed element body protection. Dragon Roar and Tiger Roar, mixed element body protection. Offense and defense in one. When under attack, there is a rebound effect, the strength of which depends on your own martial arts cultivation and the enemy's cultivation. Rebound effect. Chan Sansi estimated that if someone of a lower realm attacked him with the chaotic protective Gang Chi, they would likely be rebounded into serious injury or even death, especially since it contained the true Dragon Gang. Once injured, the true Dragon Gang would directly invade the enemy's body, raging wildly, only to be suppressed by their own realm. Only 2 steps away. Only the last 2 steps left to the Martial Saint realm. After reaching Martial Saint, even achieving the perfection of transcendence, he would no longer be at the bottom level in the cultivation world. After a smooth breakthrough, Chan Sansi quickly caught up with the big ship on Chien Sun. As they passed by Waterpool Liang Mountain this time, they encountered no obstruction and proceeded smoothly. Life on the ship. He also wasn't idle, consuming the remaining vitality-nourishing pills and practicing his spear technique day after day. A month later, they switched from water to land travel, and they were just a few days' journey from returning to Liangzhou. Cultivation technique. National Guardian Dragon Spear. Profound image. Small achievement. Progress. 588/2000. Unbeknownst to him, the trip in search of immortality has passed nearly half a year. Now it is deep autumn, September, and winter will begin soon. If calculated, the expansion of the 8 camps should be roughly complete. If nothing goes wrong, Hongza camp is already at full capacity. Next comes the drilling of military formations, always ready for next year's campaign against the grassland. Besides, there's the trouble inside the Luotian mountain range to deal with. Chapter 471. Hongza camp at full strength, preparing for battle on the grassland _3. He feared that the dangers inside were too great for him to be involved at the moment. It was best to rely on his master to solve them. Speaking of which, so much time had passed. He didn't even know how his master was doing. And the old emperor, whether he had died at the ends of the earth. Nanling Town. The camp of the Nanshu army of 100,000 men. Central army tent. Both the brothers, Fan Shuzhen and Fan Zhouxiao were present at this location. How is it? Have you found Sun Xiangzong? Replying to your highness, not yet. 1 month ago, Sun Xiangzong had burst out of Daisfang City, yet he had vanished without a trace in Nanling Town. According to the immortal masters, he was hiding within a certain mountain. The Nanshu army surrounded the mountain layers upon layers on the ground, and many cultivators even in the sky. No bird could escape as they were determined to trap Sun Xiangzong within. Very good, very good. Fan Shuzhen was thrilled. Once Sun Xiangzong is dead, the Great Shang dynasty will no longer have anyone above the Martial Saint. With the cooperation with the immortal masters and our army moving northward, we'll take down the continent. Yes, Brother 8. You and I coming here could also be considered as redeeming our merits. The 2 Fan brothers. In the previous battle at Hulaguin, the 10,000s were greatly defeated by the 3,000 in white robes. A complete disgrace. Fortunately, their family influence was significant, allowing them to keep their lives and return to Dessous. Moreover, with Zhong Hu re-emerging in the court also strongly supporting them, they were now not only avoiding disadvantage in the succession struggle but also gaining the upper hand. But their prestige was still somewhat lacking. This time, however, was a good opportunity to restore it. The humiliation at Hulaguin couldn't be rectified through Chan Sansi, so it had to be recouped from his master. What else could be more renowned worldwide than killing the first man of the Great Shang dynasty? Prime Minister Ran has instructed that we must not underestimate our enemy or be careless. Fan Zhouxiao was a bit nervous. After all, Sun Xiangzong has roamed the world for a sexagenary cycle. Back in Yu State by the Hongza River, he even had a record of defeating 1,008 armored barbarians. We better be careful. You are right, Brother 14, however. Fan Shuzhen declared solemnly. After all, we have an army of 100,000. This time, Sun Xiangzong doesn't even have 3,000 men. Most importantly, we have the immortal masters. What can he do to turn the heavens upside down? Dragon Ridge Mountain. By the riverbank among the mountains, 2 centenarians each held a fishing rod. Fishing. At the side of Emperor Cao Kai from Great Shang, a bamboo basket he had just woven was placed, containing 5 or 6 lively fish, among them 2 extremely precious spirit fish. Not far away, at Duke Sun Xiangzong of Beiliang, the governor's, likewise with a cage, but it was empty inside. Hey! Upon noticing the movement, Cao Kai hastily reeled in his catch. Another lively treasure fish into his bag. Looking askance, Sun Xiangzong's eyelid twitched. He said nothing as he picked up his fishing rod and bamboo basket, moved to a different spot, baited his hook, and cast the line again, waiting quietly. About a tea time later, both their rods hooked something simultaneously. Here it comes. Sun Xiangzong was delighted, and his true power burst forth as he sharply reeled in the rod. A clump of seaweed. Splash! Cao Kai next door reeled in another priceless spirit fish. He casually tossed it into the bamboo basket. Zijan, after all these years, you still can't beat me. Cheating at chess is the only way you can win, and you've never caught anything by fishing. Ignoring the emperor, Sun Xiangzong's gaze landed about 100 yards away, seemingly spotting something. A flash of silver. Then he vanished from his spot. Boom! Soon after, a giant wave exploded in the distance. When Sun Xiangzong reappeared, he was holding a spirit fish about half the height of a man. Shortly after, by the campfire, the two, who could be considered sovereign and subject, brothers or even enemies, began leisurely eating roasted fish by the river. What should be done next? Just like back then, on the borders of Bailiang, when Cao Kai, then a minor prince, looked upon his few thousand weak and ailing men against the tens of thousands of marauding bandits about to attack, he asked the same. Zizhan, what should be done next? Your Highness, just watch. I have a clever plan to break the enemy. But this time, he received no response. Ah! Cao Kai let out a cold laugh, talking to himself. The two of us can always find a way to break out of this encirclement, but what about after that? You destroyed the spirit vein. Will the upper sect of the cultivation world let you off? Even if bound by the heavenly Tao, the true powers cannot descend to the mortal world. They would still send endless cultivators to hunt you down. This time, you really have brought about a calamity. Even if I want to help you, I fear even I have more than enough will but not enough power. So, he paused. Why? Why did you have to do this? This so-called guardian of the Eastern continent, where is that title of office from? As far as I know, there is not such a force within the cultivation world. Ancestor vein. That is one of the ancestor veins. If the ancestor vein is revived, the Eastern continent will surely give rise to many tributaries. Great Shang would also have its spirit veins. At that time, this world would no longer be trapped within seals and would become a genuine cultivation world. Cao Kai. Sun Xiangzong addressed him directly. Do you think, even if the world becomes rich in spiritual energy again, would it be your turn to divide the grades of spirit veins? Second tier, first rank? What are you, the Chao family, in all this? I know. The old emperor was neither annoyed nor angry. Just the immortals I know don't take me seriously, which is why I have never blamed you. I'm just curious as to why you did this, and I'll do everything I can to help you. Immortals meddling in mortal affairs. It's detrimental to everyone. Chapter 472. Hongzhe camp at full strength, preparing for battle on the grassland _4. Especially for him, the emperor of dashing. Any emperor would never allow himself to be a puppet that others could replace at any time. Ancient records state. Sun Xiangzong coughed twice. After the Great War of ancient times, the ancestor vein collapsed, and chaotic energy spread like a plague between heaven and earth. To prevent it from affecting the Great Thousand World, powerful beings joined hands to set up a seal and barrier, isolating the Eastern continent and leaving behind a limited number of jade tokens, as a sliver of opportunity for the beings in this world. Hence it is called, a line opened between heaven and earth. Nowadays, whether tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years have passed, the seal has gradually loosened. With resources consumed, a transmission array can be re-established, allowing lower-level immortals to come and go as they please in the mortal world. So what? Cao Kai asked. You've been beating around the bush, but you still haven't said how to solve the remaining troubles. If we really go back to dashing like this, it will be the time of dashing's downfall. The matter of the ancestor vein has gotten too big. Even the immortal master backing me won't be able to help. It's simple. Sun Xiangzong discarded the fish bone in his hand. Since the seal has loosened, we should reinforce it. Make these immortals stop meddling in the affairs of the human world so easily. Nanling Town. Immortal Master, is there any news of Sun Xiangzong's whereabouts? Within the camp, Fan Shuzhen sought the cooperation of the Immortal Master from Nansu.
Hongyun, Immortal Master.
It is said that this man is a disciple from a major sect in the immortal realm. Deaf to the query, completely ignored, Fan Shuzhen felt somewhat embarrassed. He respectfully offered a cup of spiritual tea. Immortal Master, this is spiritual tea that I asked other immortal masters to procure from the immortal realm. Would you like to try it? Finally showing a reaction, the glacier-like Hong Jun took the tea and gently sipped it. Not bad. You've put thought into this. Immortal Master. Thump. Seizing the opportunity, Fan Shuzhen knelt to the ground. Immortal Master. I too yearn for the immortal path. May I ask for a chance to pursue the way to immortality? It is said, after killing Sun Xiangzong, the immortals from the immortal realm plan to swarm out and search the eastern continent for other locations of the ancestor veins, to protect them in advance and prevent a similar situation. For this reason, a great sum may be spent to keep the transmission array open for the long term. That is to say, everyone will have the chance to pursue the immortal path in the future. Not only that, their Zhong, who from Dessous, also known as Prime Minister Rant's young son, was even found half a month ago to be a genius with a heavenly grade spirit root and was taken away by someone to cultivate in the cultivation world. He too must seize the opportunity. If he could truly become a person of cultivation, in the future, he could also avenge the battle at Hulaguan. Yu Sansi might win the battle in martial prowess, but what if I become an immortal? Buzz! Without speaking, Hong Jun Immortal Master suddenly placed a hand on his forehead. Infusing a thread of spiritual power, and then showed a faintly surprised expression. Top grade Earth Spirit Root. Not bad. Top grade? I am top grade? Fan Shuzhen vaguely sensed the extraordinariness in it. Wait until the matter is over. Hong Jun Immortal Master said calmly. I will report to my sect to see if they are willing to take you in. Thank you, Immortal Master, thank you. Fan Shuzhen was overjoyed, casting aside the dignity of his imperial family. He thanked with extremely low posture, kowtowing earnestly. Me? Fan Jiuxiao at his side also asked, Immortal Master, can you test me as well? You. Hong Jun Immortal Master did not refuse. You have a dual spirit root of wood and water, overall considered mid-grade, barely acceptable. Thank you, Immortal Master. Fan Jiuxiao was overjoyed. He bowed deeply, following his younger brother's lead. Just as the two of them felt excitement in their hearts, a loud voice suddenly echoed from the heavenly dome above. Cultivators of the southern continent, come out. I have something to tell you. Sun Xiangzong. Hong Jun Immortal Master's expression tightened, and he hurriedly stepped out of the tent. It was dusk, the setting sun in the west. In front of the glorious red sun and above the crimson sky, an old man stood in the air, with a silver dragon constantly coiling around him. Guiqi, take him down. Whoever kills Guiqi will be rewarded with 10,000 spirit stones, a top-grade third-level cave mansion, and before reaching the golden core stage, with each breakthrough, will receive the best magic artifact and cultivation technique of the corresponding realm. Moreover, be chosen as a true inheritor of the sect. As the saying goes, bullish rewards breed valor. Not only is this true in the mortal world, but it also applies in the cultivation world. Only the cultivators knew how generous this offer was. The temptation was enough to drive all the cultivators in the world mad. It was enough to show that the elder was truly enraged. He was willing to pay any price to kill Guiqi, to kill the one who had destroyed the ancestor vein, cutting off the chance of fate for countless beings, not just humans but all living creatures. Boom! One after another, figures flew into the sky, their spells dazzling and bright like fireworks. However, no matter how many charged forward, they all shared the same fate. Pierced by the silver dragon, a rain of blood fell from the sky, still warm as it landed on the Nanshu soldiers. This person. He must have surpassed the second realm of martial arts. He has entered the extremely rare third realm. The third realm. How is that possible? The martial path not only demands a huge amount of resources but also represents a dead end, with a limit that prevents practitioners from achieving immortality and living as long as heaven and earth, which further results in the scarcity of martial cultivators. But now, a worldly martial cultivator, unless bestowed with an immense stroke of fate, how could possibly cultivate to the third realm in a place like the eastern continent, where the spiritual energy is so depleted it's akin to a plague-stricken land? It was utterly inconceivable. If he truly was of the third realm, then even if they all surged forward together, they might still be unable to end his life. Hong Jun's senior brother. He is of the third realm of martial arts. Chapter 473. Hongza camp at full strength, preparing for battle on the grassland _5. What should we do? It wasn't until over 20 cultivators had died that the remaining cultivators finally dared not continue forward. But since they did not dare to disobey orders, none of them fled. They looked down anxiously, scared and restless, hoping the person in charge of this sect mission would have an idea. Trap him to death. Hong Jun had also seen that Guiqi was defying the natural order. He quickly made a decision. Take out all the talismans the ancestor gave you, and then form the array again, slowly grind him to death. This person, after all, is from the mortal realm. And the old master had said, Guiqi doesn't have much life left. The confrontation at the ends of the earth must have inflicted injuries on him. Now, he probably is a spent force. If they trapped him and maintained the formation with a vast number of spirit stones, eventually he would be worn down to death. Form the array. The cultivators, one by one, took out their precious talismans that they had been reluctant to use, and according to the positions they had practiced beforehand, formed the array. Then even more array flags arrayed in the air, and a tremendous amount of spirit stones infused with spiritual power. Rumble. The Luotian array was deployed. The cloaked demon was trapped within. With spirit stones as the source of energy, the array continuously unleashed spell attacks, not painful but nagging, chipping away at the opponent's strength. Look at you all, so flushed and desperate. Sun Xiangzong continuously parried the attacks, sneering. I was just going to say a few words to you, but you insisted on fighting and killing, making me seem like I'm bloodthirsty. Guiqi. In the southern sky, a streak of light, like a falling star, flew from the Tianya Sea, eventually stopping in front of the demon. Within it came the voice of that ancestor. Speak. Where are the other 3 ancestor veins? If you cooperate, I can still spare the lives of your relatives in the mortal realm. There is no ancestor vein of spirit. Sun Xiangzong said coldly. There is indeed a slaughter vein. Do you want to help out and exterminate the ancient demon clan? Slaughter vein. From within the streak of light, a cold snort sounded. Stop beating around the bush. I am asking you for the last time. If you do not cooperate, I will eradicate your bloodline. I mean what I say. Boom! Sun Xiangzong didn't waste any more words. He suddenly lifted his long spear and thrust it forward. With one blow, the streak of light shattered. Guiqi, you! The ancestors' words had not yet finished when they abruptly ceased. All you cultivators, listen up. From this day on, you must not enter the mortal world, intervening in mortal affairs. Leave now, while there's still time. Arrogant! Hong Jun flew down from the sky. A dying man still dares to spout such nonsense. Amidst layers of formations, the demon Guiqi slowly took out a talisman. But this talisman of his was completely different from those used by cultivators. It was not talisman paper, but rather a jade token. Even with the discerning eyes of the cultivators present, they could not tell what rank the talisman belonged to or what function it served. They could only see that as a trace of spiritual power was infused into it, waves of dense, highly compressed mana pulsed from within. It was as if, in the canopy above, a deep blue ocean appeared out of nowhere, followed by an abrupt eruption of a tsunami. Boom! In an instant, the formation carefully constructed by hundreds of cultivators lay in tatters, and they, shocked and dismayed, scattered in all directions like startled birds. After this surge of blue light shot into the sky, it did not pierce through the heavens but was blocked 1,000 feet in the air, as if by a shield obstructing its path, and this shield subsequently became visible. That was a seal left by an ancient power many years ago. Looking across, at the ends of the earth, a faint glimmer of golden light could be seen. This world of theirs, the entire eastern continent, was enveloped in the light's embrace. It was like an upside-down big bowl, separating them from the great thousand world. Yet, this big bowl had become old and worn with the passing of time, and at the edges, countless tiny cracks had formed. The transmission arrays at the ends of the earth were situated at the fault lines between these cracks. Humming, the jade talisman transformed into a meteor racing towards the sky, then streaks of light flew out from it, accurately landing on the cracked parts of the seal, much like mending torn fabric. Where the light fell, the seal gradually recovered. The orb of light carrying the voice of the patriarch appeared once more. Quick! He's reinforcing the seal. Stop him! Once the seal is reinforced, those within the cultivation world who wish to enter the mortal realm may not know how much time and effort it will cost them. The one who kills Guiqi shall protect our clan's immortal path. The stakes were raised to yet another dimension. But the scene before them was not something these low-tier cultivators dared to meddle with. How can you reinforce a seal of ancient powers? What exactly is that jade talisman? It was nothing short of a fantasy. The cultivators couldn't even begin to fathom the extent of the implications. Quickly, the patriarch transmitted a message. Hong Jun, acting on behalf of the patriarch, gave the order. Since we can't stop the reinforcement of the seal, we must retreat from this place. Leaving behind over 100 cultivators in the mortal realm would be sufficient for revenge against the Sun family and would allow the search for the locations of other ancestor veins, granting their sect a head start in the hope that one day they might reopen a gateway to the heavens. Leave. However, the power within the jade talisman soared again, directly forming a boundary that spanned the entire sky, blocking all paths to the mortal realm, with chains extending from within. I am not one who delights in slaughter. Sun Xiangzong, surrounded by a silver dragon, formed incantations with his hands, his voice sounding like a ringing bell. All cultivators here may choose to return to the ends of the earth, or else leave your lives behind. Chapter 474 Hungza Camp at full strength, preparing for battle on the grassland _6. Boom! The chains within the jade talisman spread out like vines, acting like life-claiming grappling hooks, piercing through the body of each cultivator. Over 100 cultivators were powerless to fight back. Not only that, these chains could even seek out cultivators attempting to hide. In the blink of an eye, another 20 or so cultivators lost their lives. Unable to leave, unable to hide. Even Hong Jun had to admit that staying any longer was meaningless. Nothing but a sure way to court death. Elder Ancestor. Please, Elder Ancestor, make a move. Your disciples are powerless, utterly incapable of contending against an adversary of this caliber. All of you, get out. The Elder Ancestor's voice rang out. At the same time, a hazy purple figure appeared, one that was resisting the suppression of the heavenly Tao, becoming more illusory with every 10 feet it advanced, and yet it persisted, racing straight for the jade talisman. Body externalization. The Elder Ancestor himself is taking action. Quick, retreat. Retreat. Once permission was given, the cultivators no longer dared to tarry, frantically rushing back towards the ends of the earth. If they couldn't return before the seal was reinforced, they would have to die right here. The Elder Ancestor's body externalization collided with the jade talisman, setting off a world-shaking tumult. The entire sky was rendered uninhabitable. The slightest touch would annihilate one completely. Even the demon Guiqi himself had to fall back to the ground. The other cultivators were flying close to the surface of the earth. After a series of enormous bangs, the elder ancestor's body externalization disintegrated. Nothing could prevent the jade talisman from reinforcing the seal now. Seeing this, Hong Jun also decided to leave. Immortal Master? It was not until this moment that Fan Shuzhen came to his senses from the shock. He grabbed hold of the immortal's sleeve. You're all leaving? What do we do? You! Hong Jun pointed at the black-robed elder ahead. Kill him at all costs. Me! Fan Shuzhen was stunned. Yes, kill him, Hong Jun said. He's just showing off with the aid of the jade talisman, and he's already at his limit. All you have to do is kill him, and the upper sect will ensure your Fan family has an untroubled immortal path. If you let him go easily, when the day comes for the seal to be reopened, we'll come back to settle the score with you. After speaking, he used an escape technique and soon disappeared from sight. Brother 8, what do we do? Fan Zhouxiao watched as the last immortal master left. Do we follow the order? Do it. Fan Shuzhen clenched his teeth. I have 100,000 strong army. Pass down my battle orders. Surround and kill Sun Xiangzong. However, with such a terrifying supernatural phenomenon having occurred, the mortal army had long been frightened out of their wits, having broken ranks from the very start, now beyond anybody's command. Boom! Suddenly, true power surged ahead, and hundreds of soldiers died. In just a moment, the black-robed elder carved out a path and then soared into the air, vanishing into the horizon. Half an hour later, the strange phenomena between heaven and earth finally dissipated. The jade talisman in the sky had completely exhausted the mana within it and shattered into pieces. The seal fissure in the eastern continent had also been mostly repaired. Everything returned to calm. Cultivation world. Damn it! Within a certain upper sect, the ancestor was thunderously furious. Several elders were also conversing across the distances from their respective peaks. It seems, we let that demon guardian have his way. From the destructive spirit array to the jade talisman, I fear they were all left by the mighty ones. Now that the seal on eastern continent has been reinforced, what should we do? No matter. Just now my body externalization slightly weakened the power of the jade talisman. There's still a loose spot in the seal, it'll just take some time to handle. The impact on the ancient transmission array is minimal. It should still be usable soon. It's just that the transmission jade plates, once collected from the various workshops, would be immediately refined, and the secret techniques extracted from them would render them invalid. Now we have very few left. After all, who would have thought he could actually reinforce the seal? Having even one is better than none. Once the ancient transmission array is restored, immediately send someone out. Liangzhou. This time it was a secret journey. Chun Sansi and others entered the city under the cover of night, acting quietly. Returning to the long-missed mansion, his first sensation was of emptiness. After all, Gu Xinlan and Chen Due had gone to Daqing long ago, leaving only Chen Yunqi and 2 maids at home. Calculating the time, He was probably already able to speak. Chun Sansi quietly entered his daughter's room. Under the moonlight, Chun Yunqi was sleeping soundly. He sat down by the bed, gently pinched the girl's cheek, and when he was sure she was safe and sound, he breathed a sigh of relief. He was about to leave quietly when a drowsy voice rang out beside his ear. "Daddy!" All of a sudden, Chun Yunqi had awakened, rubbing her still hazy eyes. "Daddy, are you back?" "It's me. Did I scare you?" "Daddy, hold me. You should keep sleeping." Chun Sansi whispered softly. "Daddy, there's a letter from Mommy here." Chun Yunqi pointed to the bed. Chun Sansi found a stack of envelopes under the pillow. The sender was Gu Xinlan, who wrote home every month. He hugged his daughter, opening and reading the letters one by one. Night as bright as day. He didn't need a candle. Reading the words was like seeing her face. It was as if a familiar voice was whispering in his ear. "Brother Sure, Guati has been forcing me to learn how to deal with the state affairs of Qing country. The ministers don't know that the person sitting behind the curtain at court every day is actually me. But I'm really not interested in these affairs. Guati has a sharp tongue but a soft heart, always saying he is a common mundane, but she often secretly plays with the child as well. By the way, he spoke yesterday. But the first word was auntie. Anyway, I'm doing well. Are you well, Brother Sure?" A journey in search of immortality, like a lifetime apart. Chun Sansi held his daughter, reading the letters, feeling an inexplicable sense of peace. If he must remain in Daisfang City to cultivate immortality, he would rather give up the path to immortality. In the end, there was also a stack of intelligence sorted daily by his fourth senior brother. From it, he learned Hongzha camp was fully established with a complete troop of 15,000, all elite soldiers from Liangzhou, simply awaiting his command to train and officially go to war. Chapter 475. Bailiang reviews the troops Wolong destroys Wei country. The great desert to the north was stirring, and troops were being called from various tribes. In response, the border of the northwest 3 states was also gathering a massive number of soldiers to confront them. Among these, the eldest brother, Lu Ji, had even slain many in several battles, totaling over 1,000 enemies, including one general. Beyond that, there was news regarding the Witch God sect. The Witch God sect had been temporarily pacified for over half a year. Just over a month ago, it had started targeting sect disciples for persecution again, and it was still unclear who was behind this. Even if it had something to do with the immortals in the Luotian mountain range, someone should have seen something. Evil Qi. Recalling the strange phenomena in the Luotian mountain range, Chun Sansi now felt that it probably also had something to do with the resurgence of spiritual energy. It seemed necessary to find time to return to the mountains. Since returning this time, he had gained some insight and wanted to try to figure out what those cultivators were up to. Liangzhou was his home. Even if it didn't involve the cultivation world, incidents like what happened in Yunzhou 10 days ago were absolutely not allowed to happen again. Putting aside his myriad thoughts, Chun Sansi realized that his daughter in his arms had fallen asleep. He gently placed her back on the bed. He was about to leave when he noticed the girl's small hand still tightly clutching his sleeve, worried that forcibly pulling away might wake her up. In the end, he simply sat at the edge of the bed, originally intending to think carefully about the next steps in planning. However, somehow, the fatigue that had accrued since returning home surged up, and he fell asleep sitting there. When he opened his eyes again, the sky outside the window was already slightly bright. The little girl was covering him with a tiger skin blanket. "Daddy's awake?" Chun Yunshi ran down from the bed and soon returned with hot water and a towel. "I'm off." After hastily washing his face, Chun Sansi mounted Chen Sun and headed to the long-missed military camp. Thud. Thud. It was precisely 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. After roll call, the soldiers were training. Even from a distance, one could hear the earth-shattering war drums and shoutings of battle. "General!" A familiar voice came to his ears. Xia Tsong hurried over. "Have you finished your retreat?" "Yes." Chun Sansi looked toward the direction of Hongza camp. "What about the situation?" "It's all set up," Xia Tsong said. "Now all the main generals of the 12 camps are in Liangzhou, and not long ago, the 6th prince also came under the imperial command, just waiting for you to leave retreat to review the troops, and then we set out." "Waiting for me?" Chun Sansi knew he had been in retreat for half a year, and even with the 4th brother's help in covering up, it was time to show up. He learned that the 6th prince was currently in the Central Army tent, so he went there on his own initiative. Central Army tent. General Fong. The 6th Prince Chao Huan stood in front of the sand table. "When does General Chen's retreat end?" "Within this month, after the big review of troops. We must enter the next phase of training. Ready for battle on the grassland at any time. Just start." In the wheelchair, the green-robed scholar said, "General Chun is at a critical juncture in his retreat. It's best not to disturb him." Fine." Chao Huan ordered to the person next to him, preparing to arrange the specifics. Just then, the tent flapped open. A figure in a white robe appeared in everyone's view. "Your Highness, I regret arriving late," Chun Sansi said with a fist salute. "We can start the review of the troops now." "You are General Chun?" Chao Huan advanced to welcome him. "I have long admired your reputation. In the past 2 years, even in the West Splendor Palace, the name of the general was often heard. You truly are a great general bestowed upon the great Shang dynasty by heaven." "Your Highness flatters me." Chun Sansi responded politely, while taking the opportunity to size him up. This 6th prince was not very old, only in his early 40s, but perhaps due to many years of confinement. He already had a head full of white hair, and the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes revealed a profound weariness. This is the fate of royal descendants. After stepping into the court, there was no way back unless one withdrew at an early stage. Since General Chun has ended his retreat, it must mean that there has been a breakthrough? In casual conversation, Chao Huan said, "At the beginning of your retreat, it was heard that you were an entry-level practitioner of the Xuanxiang realm. Have you mastered it by now?" "By a stroke of luck, I've achieved small achievement." Chun Sansi calmly spoke the truth. In fact, according to military regulations, one must not conceal one's realm. Mainly, there was also no need to hide it now. Small achievement? Upon hearing this, not only Chao Huan, but also all the generals in the tent were taken aback. What the heck? Small achievement in the profound image realm. Clash clatter. The sound of armor clashing arose. All the generals showed their respect. How long had this man been practicing martial arts? Just a little over 2 years ago. During the selected point, if I remember correctly, he was barely at Huajin. In 2 years, he soared all the way to the profound image realm from Huajin. What kind of concept is that? Actually, Chun Sansi himself was somewhat bewildered. He didn't think it was that astonishing of a feat. But to outsiders, it was almost inconceivable. Martial arts is a path that defies the heavens. Resources, physique, comprehension, a multitude of hardships stack up, and each bottleneck halts countless individuals. Like the toughest stage, Huajin, 8 out of 10 martial artists will be stuck at this step. The remaining 2/10, again, get stuck attempting to break through Meridian Passage and the mysterious phenomenon. Even geniuses require ample time to cultivate and gradually improve. But this guy, practicing martial arts for a total of 3 years, arrived in Liangzhou barely over 2 years ago. To compare people is to infuriate. In the blink of an eye, the selected point military officer had grown into a fully fledged campaign main general. And let's not forget, he has the body of martial saint. If this continues, it's likely he will soon become one of the most prominent figures in the Northern Territory, second only to General Lu Ji. Since General Chun has ended his retreat, overcoming their shock, Chao Huan continued to discuss official matters. Then let's begin reviewing the troops in 2 days. In the Great Shang Dynasty, reviewing the troops carries 2 significances. Chapter 476. Bailiang reviews the troops, while Long destroys Wei Country _2. The first is to marshal troops and designate leaders for a military campaign. The second is to inspect the troops. The purpose of this troop inspection was naturally the second. Expanding the camp took 2 full years, using countless amounts of silver, so naturally, there had to be an imperial envoy from the court to inspect for any oversights, to see if anyone had the audacity to engage in corruption, leading to the situation of drawing pay without serving. 12 camps, each with 15,000 men. In total, there were a whopping 180,000 men. Add civilian workers during wartime, and one could boast of having 300,000 men externally. Of course, this was not the limit. There were still a huge number of garrison troops present in the northwest 3 states. Dashing had vast territories and a large population. As long as there was food and pay, more soldiers could be continuously found. Thus, a grand troop inspection began to be prepared. The central army tent was too crowded, and Fang Qingyun had military matters to deal with, so Chun Sansi did not rush to discuss matters about the ends of the earth but instead took his long spear and left, preparing to go to Hongza camp first. Greetings to all senior brothers and sisters. On his way, he encountered his senior brothers whom he hadn't seen for a long time. During the grand troop inspection, it was natural for all the main generals of the camps to return. Hello, little junior brother. Rong Yanxiu, contrary to his usual demeanor, didn't come up for a warm chat but leaned against a stone pillar, idly playing with a flower, wholly uninterested. Second senior brother Chang Wei had a worried expression, fiddling with an abacus as if he were a merchant who had just conducted a big loss-making deal. Fifth senior brother Meng Guangxin sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed, tap tap tap, striking the wooden fish, unable to control his agitated mood. Each time he struck, cracks appeared, until with a snap, it was completely shattered. He stood up, carrying his crescent moon spade and went to 7th senior brother Yi Fengxiu. Old Chi, let's have a spar. Get lost. Murderous intent filled Yi Fengxiu's phoenix eyes, clearly unwilling to pay attention. Boom! Regardless of whether he agreed or not, Meng Guangxin swung his crescent moon spade forward, bringing with him an overwhelming gang chi. If you're looking to die, I'll oblige you. Yi Fengxiu drew his sword to respond, and the two of them fought fiercely together. This, Chun Sansi could naturally tell something was wrong with them. Come with me. Amid the confusion, Wang Ji appeared. Chun Sansi followed him as he left. Senior brother, what's going on? Wang Ji spoke deliberately. The 8 camps gone. What? Chun Sansi had a guess in his heart. What exactly happened? After the expansion, assistant generals and those of higher rank from each camp were all replaced. Wang Ji explained. The soldiers brought in also basically do not obey the command of the governor mansion. What about our senior brothers and sisters? Chun Sansi asked. Were they reassigned as well? Yes. Wang Ji nodded. Previously, every senior brother had at least 1 camp under their command. But now it has been reduced to 2 people jointly managing a single camp as the main general and deputy general, and half of the junior officers under them have been replaced. It's expected that later on they will be transferred out of the Northern Territory. Apart from the eldest and the third. Among the 12 camps, plus your Hongza camp, we now only have 4 camps left. The 8 camps, only 4 remained. Several sacred decrees, coupled with a series of reassignments. Years of effort, were crippled by half. And this was likely just the beginning. After the war on the grasslands concludes, they will surely continue to cut down, until the original 8 camps were completely dispersed, never to be united again. It's highly possible they'll be demobilized to return to the fields, but it'll take time to find a new generation of generals to completely replace them. Our Hongza camp did not escape either. Wang Ji pointed to the practicing formations of troops ahead. From assistant generals upward, all are people nurtured by the court from a young age. They will certainly fight with you without problems, it's just that in the future. Let's go have a look. Chun Sansi interrupted. Hongza camp. Why are we being transferred to the Sky Wolf camp? Xiong Chuan, Feng Yong, and other brothers from Piyang gathered together, loudly questioning several generals before them. Xiao Zheng, Yu Jike, Xia Tsong, along with 2 older assistant generals, watched them coldly. Among them, there was also a deputy general in the Xuanxiang realm, Chu Shixiang. He faced the questioning crowd and emotionlessly provided an answer. From the 15,000 men in Hongza camp, aside from the 3,000 black armor soldiers, the remaining 12,000 were reorganized troops transferred intact from near the capital city. There really isn't a place for you. You're talking nonsense. Lu Jinkue cursed. We've been with the general right from the start in Pyong. Speaking of this, he clenched a fist to the sky, then continued to curse. Crossing the Hungza River 4 times, breaking through 100,000 at Hulao, we were always in the Central Army. Why would you transfer us to the Sky Wolf camp? Based on what? Based on what? Chu Shixiang narrowed his eyes. Because you are not worthy. Not worthy. General Chu. There's no need for such unpleasant words. Beside him, another assistant general, Meng Dingxin, stopped him, speaking in a much calmer tone. Yet his words were still uncompromising. What's your name? Never mind, it doesn't matter. Pyong, right? To all the brothers from Pyong. I understand that all of you have followed General Chun through hard work and contributions. But times have changed. Now, Hongza camp is the elite of the Bailiang army and you guys, most of you are still around the refining internal stage, right? There aren't many even at Huajin, let alone Meridian Passage. Most importantly, due to your constitutions, there is no possibility of reaching a higher threshold. If you were to stay in Hongza camp, it would be equivalent to holding back the general. General Chun is kind-hearted and remembers old affections, but we cannot let past loyalty drag down the combat effectiveness of a unit. You going to the Sky Wolf camp can at least maintain your current military rank based on your realm, but there really is no place for you in Hongza camp. Chapter 477. Bailiang reviews the troops, Walong destroys Wei Country _3. Furthermore, Skywolf camp is also part of the Bailiang army. You all can continue to serve the court, advancing and retreating alongside General Chun, sharing life and death. Between the lines was full disdain and contempt. Yet, regrettably, the military officers from Pyong County found it difficult to refute. Just as Meng Dingxin said, whether by background or qualification, they were somewhat inferior, and none of them had achieved Meridian Passage, but they were certainly capable of fulfilling their duties. This was clearly an intentional act to kick them out. It wasn't just the military officers. Over 1,000 array soldiers from Pyong would have to transfer to Sky Wolf camp as well. However, the other party was pressuring them under the excuse of the court, so they were unable to disobey. At this time, General Chun was not around. Even having Su Wenkai there would have been fine. In the past, when Mr. Chun wasn't present, old Su would always handle situations promptly and at the very least, provide some advice. But this cunning old fox, let's not mention him.
No.
Zhao Kong was more composed. He didn't rush up to make a scene, but he knew he couldn't compromise. If they really went to Sky Wolf camp, they'd likely never have the chance to return. Sir has returned. Just when the two sides were at an impasse, suddenly someone cried out. All eyes turned. Sir, they suddenly felt bolstered. This humble one, Xia Zong. This humble one. Greet the general. Deputy General Chu Shixiang, along with the 5 assistant generals, all raised their fists to pay their respects in unison. They held great reverence for this young general who had achieved consecutive astounding victories. Chun Sansi briefly scanned the room, his gaze landing on a few unfamiliar faces, but he said nothing. This humble one's surname is Chu, given name Shixiang. Chu Shixiang bowed with a fist in hand. I am now a standard second-rank national stabilizing general, and also the deputy general of Hongza camp. From now on I'll be General Chen's right-hand man. If there is anything you need, just command me. Rank from second rank. From the initial title of National Guardian General to National Stabilizing General, and then to an additional title of General of Service to the nation. Theoretically, after 3 such promotions, one would continue on to the rank of Standard Second-Rank General of Cavalry. For someone like Chun Sansi, leaping from 6th-rank Captain Qingxin to Standard Second-Rank National Guardian General was already a promotion of heavenly speed. Chu Shixiang, purely in terms of military rank, was 1 rank higher than Chun Sansi. This humble one, Meng Dingxin. Meng Dingxin also introduced himself. This humble one, Dong Yulin. Another assistant general followed. On the way there, Chun Sansi had talked with Wang Ji. He had already obtained a brief understanding of these 3 men.
Chu Shixiang.
He had been a main general of the Imperial Guard, reached great success in the Xuanxiang realm, and also possessed the body of an innate martial saint. He was not far from breakthroughs, and yet such a man was dispatched to serve as a deputy general. The remaining 2, one from the Black Armor Army, one from the Genie Guard. In short, all were elites from the capital city. Oh, General Chen need not worry. Chu Shixiang felt that he knew what the other was thinking and hastened to say respectfully. I have grown up reading military books and I admire the greatest masters of the 8 volumes of military strategies the most. It was beyond my wildest dreams that there would be another master like General Chun in our time. I have read and reread General Chen's battle records every day and night, and my admiration for the general has grown day by day. For this reason, I asked His Majesty to let me come and be the deputy general of my own initiative. I definitely would not resent the demotion in military rank. On the contrary, I cherish the opportunity to march and fight alongside the general to campaign against barbarians to the north. Therefore, if the general has any requests in the future, just command me, and I will definitely go through fire and water without any hesitation. I understand. Chun Sansi spoke calmly. General Chu said so much. Are you worried that I wouldn't be able to command you because your official rank and realm are higher than mine? Chu Shixiang clasped his fists tighter, thinking his statement was not bad. However, he did not hear the expected polite words and compliments, but a calm three-word phrase, smooth as a lake. You think so? Chu Shixiang's body trembled. The others also looked stern.
Chu Shixiang.
Chen Sansi tossed the long spear in his hand to Zhao Kong to hold, placed his hands behind his back, expressionless, and spoke unhurriedly. From what you've said, it seems like the position of the main general of Hongzhe camp. He paused, then suddenly emphasized, was given to me by you? I wouldn't dare. Thump. Upon hearing this, Chu Shixiang hurriedly knelt on one knee. I definitely did not mean that. The other party's realm was not as high as his. But at this moment, he truly felt fear, as if a great seal was pressing down on him, making it hard to lift his head. Chen Sansi did not speak again but instead walked into the central army tent with a wave of his sleeve. Shortly after, Wang Ji came out and signaled all of them to follow inside. What were you all arguing about just now? Wang Ji pretended not to know and asked. Sir. Zhao Kong reported the whole situation. We don't want to leave Hongzhe camp. Exactly. Subin followed and said, Sir, even if we die, we want to die in Hongzhe camp.
Chu Shixiang.
Chen Sansi sat in the main seat and asked, was reassigning the men your arrangement? I wouldn't dare make such decisions on my own. Chu Shixiang explained. This expansion of Bailiang army and all related personnel assignments were arranged by the Ministry of War. I was merely carrying out orders. The arrangements of the Ministry of War are not reasonable. They don't understand the situation. Chen Sansi said gravely, the brothers from the Pyong army are essential to the operations of the battle array and cannot be replaced. They must stay in Hongzhe camp. General, Hongzhe camp is at full capacity. Chu Shixiang said with difficulty. There are not that many military officer positions. Simple. Chen Sansi, holding a roster, said, transfer out a portion of your men. This is the Ministry of War. I'll write the petition. Chapter 478. Bailiang reviews the troops Walong destroys Wei country _4. Chen Sansi paused between each word. I will directly hand the petition to the Longevity Palace. Do you understand? Understood. Chu Shixiang had no choice but to take the order and leave. The brothers from Pyong looked at each other and collectively exhaled in relief, then took their leave one by one. Now, Chen Sansi had his own central army tent. But sitting in the Taisher chair, he felt no stir of emotion. Retaining these 1,000+ men today was not difficult. After all, their numbers were few, and none were martial artists of high cultivation. But this was a signal that from now on the court would firmly control the Bailiang army. Indeed, Chen Sansi knew from reading the history books of Dashing that after the Grand Ancestor founded the nation, the method of controlling military power was very secure. Taking the garrison as an example, the highest military rank was commander, but a commander had no authority to mobilize troops. Whenever there was a battle, the court would temporarily appoint a general to take command, and after the battle ended, military power was withdrawn, and the general returned to his original post. This arrangement prevented military officers from gaining too much power but also caused delayed responses to battles, missing opportunities. Later, as conflicts arose frequently, almost every year witnessed various scales of turmoil, and gradually it became so that local commanders only needed approval from the Ministry of War to deploy. The current trend is to revert to the old system after the campaign in the grassland. Indeed, this is a good time. With Nansu, Dongqing, and West Qi all suffering losses, as long as the barbarians in the grasslands are severely damaged, there will likely be no sudden battles for the next decade, and temporarily appointing commanders will suffice. But then, wouldn't that mean he had worked for nothing? From the very beginning, Chen Sansi's purpose in studying martial arts and joining the army had only one focus: to control his own destiny. Over these years, he had indeed braved wind and rain, fighting battles from south to north, and traversed through fire and swords. Fighting desperately. Was he really just working for that old man, the emperor? To have struggled so hard to build a formidable tiger and wolf troops, only to hand it over easily? This was too much to bear. But currently, there were no good solutions. He could only finish fighting the battle in the grassland, then discuss it with his martial brothers and sisters. In any case, no matter what, he could not truly hand over his life to the court. Let alone the fact that the old emperor was an immortal who might recreate the 10 days of Yunzhou incident at any time. Even if he were a wise ruler for all ages, he would not willingly hand over military power. Being close to the emperor was like accompanying a tiger. He refused to do so. Speaking of which, dozens of days had passed, and he wondered how things were at the ends of the earth. If the old emperor died there, it would be a cause for universal rejoicing. And what about his master? First, prepare for battle, he said. Prepare for battle and practice alchemy at the same time, striving to break through to martial saint soon to really secure a foothold in this mundane world. There are also anomalies in the Luotian mountain range that need to be dealt with. Truly a season full of events. With Chen Sansi's emergence from seclusion, the muster of troops officially began. Originally anticipated to form 12 camps, it was said that last-minute adjustments had raised the number to 14 camps, the 2 extra camps of troops seemingly coming from nowhere. In any case, 14 camps of troops, 14 main generals, totaling up to 210,000 elite soldiers and officers, all assembled within Liangzhou city. The muster list is as follows. Firstly, the absent Sun Xiangzong, Supervisor Sun, who during the war commanded all military forces and controlled the troops of the Northern Territory, commanding the personal soldier camp, known as Heavenly Strategy Camp. Lu Ji with assistant and third senior brother Nye Yuan, controlling the 3 camps, respectively the Xuanwu Camp, White Tiger Camp, and Heavenly Lion Camp. Fang Qingyun, Meng Guangxin as main and deputy general, leading the Azure Dragon Camp. Rong Yanxiu, Yi Fengxiu as main and deputy general, leading the Vermilion Bird Camp. Second senior brother Cheng Wei and General Zhao Wuji together led the Liangzhou Guard Station soldiers. The other camps were all commanded by generals dispatched by the court. By Fingji, Lu Shuhua, Xie Shu, and Yan Chongqing, among others, were scattered among the various camps, taking on the roles of assistant generals. Then there was the Hongzhe camp. The positions in Hongzhe camp are as follows. Chun Sansi served as the main general of the camp. Deputy General Chu Shixiang. Front Army Assistant General Dong Yulin. Left Army Assistant General Xiao Zheng. Right Army Assistant General Yu Jike. Rear Army Assistant General Meng Dingxin. Central Army Assistant General Xia Tsong. The rest of the 1,000 captains and 100 captains, each in charge of their duties, totaling 15,000 troops and horses. Lastly, as the muster was nearing its end on the 7th day, there were 2 additional camps of troops who gradually arrived in Liangzhou city, accompanied by a piece of significant news. While long destroyed Wei, a year ago, Su Wenkai was commissioned to head east of Yu State. Within just 4 months, he quelled all rebellions and, without demobilizing, obtained the approval of the Ministry of War to march eastward. In 6 months, he took over 40 cities and 2 months ago took the Wei kingdom capital and captured the Emperor of Wei alive. Even though Wei country was a minor nation, it was still a country. It is said that Su Wenkai was nearly prophetic in his thinking, creating strategies as if by divine intervention. The military formations he used were almost indistinguishable from those of the White Robe, combined with several ingenious strategies. His fame thundered across the world. He was granted the Pillar Country rank and appointed as National Guardian General. People ranked the 4 contemporary military family saints, 3 of whom were in the northern territory of Dashing. Thus, the court changed the garrison into camps, specifically establishing 2 camps for Su Wenkai, Jinbiao Camp and North Prefecture Camp. The allocation of troops in these 2 camps was no different from the rest of the Beiliang army. They were temporarily in Liangzhou mainly to coordinate the campaign in the grassland, and after that it was said that they would either move south or be stationed to the west. This old man. The brothers from Pyong couldn't believe the news when they heard it. A destruction of a nation. Although Wei country is small, it is still a nation. This old man has no power to bind a chicken. How can he control a group of military officers? Chapter 479. Beiliang reviews the troops while Long destroys Wei country _5. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the majestic Jinbiao camp crossed through the city gate. Leading at the front was Su Wenkai. However, this man wasn't riding a horse, but instead sitting in a pushcart. His attire complete with a feather fan and an aura of scholarly composure, creating quite a spectacle. Heh! That old fellow. He has legs but won't walk. Why sit in a wheelchair? He must be imitating General Fong. Ridiculous. Another day passed. By dusk, the grand military inspection was declared to be over. The inspection wasn't for all troops to gather together. After the rest of the troops were reviewed, only the main generals remained, as they had left earlier. Now, there weren't too many people left in the martial arts arena. The main generals of the Beiliang army gathered, preparing to hold a banquet to get to know each other better, since they would soon go to war with the grassland tribes, and would be comrades in life and death. Congratulations to Mr. Su. Yes, Mr. Su. You truly are a late bloomer. I have seen Mr. Chun. I've long admired General Chen's reputation. Today, I finally have the honor to meet you in person. It is a fortune in 3 lifetimes. The generals greeted each other. Mr. Su. Chun Sansi also stepped forward to give a bowing salute. Congratulations, for a merit that will be recorded in the annals of history. Unexpectedly, Su Wenkai glanced at him, merely ed, and then went on to chat with others, almost completely ignoring him. This scene caught the eyes of the other generals, all taken aback. They had heard that the 2 did not get along, but they hadn't expected it to be to this extent, not even bothering to keep appearances. Old Wu, do you know what this is about? I heard that after Su Wenkai made his accomplishments, Mr. Chun held off on giving recognition, wanting to keep him firmly under his control. That's like ruining someone's future. No different from killing someone's parents.
No wonder, no wonder.
Thus, the tale spread far and wide. Almost everyone in Liangzhou knew that Chun Sansi and Su Wenkai were at odds. Their subordinates even fought each other on several occasions, to the point of drawing blood, and each suffered severe punishment. Damn it! We'll kill that old bastard. We won't kill him, but find an opportunity to put a sack over him and give him a beating. Enough! Zhao Kong scolded. From now on, just avoid any dealings with them. Why escalate to life and death fights? Let's go. The general has called us to see him quietly tonight. There must be something important. Governor Mansion. Chun Sansi sat in the pavilion by the lake on the back hill, recounted the experiences he had at the ends of the earth in brief, hoping to understand the whole story. In some sense, you could be considered an immortal now, only not deeply involved in the immortal path. Given the circumstances, there's no need to keep certain things from you. Fang Qingyun said gravely. Longqing 56th year, yes, the year before the complete annihilation of his forces. Master discovered an ancient tomb beneath the glaciers in the extreme north. A cultivator's tomb? Qin Sansi guessed. Sort of, to be precise, it was a battlefield. Fang Qingyun continued. Master opened the ancient tomb but got injured and had to return to Liangzhou temporarily. His injuries were very serious at that time. After the court became aware of it, they seized the chance to fabricate charges against Master and imprisoned him, preparing to move against the then-dominant 8 camps. The next year, Nansu made a big push northward. During that period, I went to the extreme north on behalf of Master. At that time, I had actually become a martial saint. I encountered people from the court in the tomb, and we each obtained some things. Later, I also visited the ends of the earth. Long story short, by the time I returned, I had become the disabled man you see before you. At the same time, Nansu was unstoppable, and they had no choice but to release Master. After the conflict was over, Master made another trip to the extreme north. But as for the specifics, I don't know. All I know is that after returning, Master's strength increased explosively. The destructive spirit array, the guardian of the eastern continent, might be related to the extreme north. I'm not privy to the details. I only know that the court also got a lot of good stuff from there, enough to cultivate many martial saints and mystical phenomenon generals. The explosive growth of the past few years was just like that. The extreme north. Chun Sansi inquired. Do you still remember Mr. Mei? Are you asking if there is a connection with Mr. Mei? Fang Qingyun shook his head slightly, indicating uncertainty. In any case, you don't have to worry about Master. He will definitely return safely before matters are concluded. After talking about the ends of the earth, Chun Sansi brought up the issue of military authority. This time, Fang Qingyun only showed a wry smile and said nothing. What does this mean, brother? Chun Sansi said, are we just going to let it go? The power was already being tampered with. He estimated that the next step would be to act against people. Younger brother. The green-robed scholar opened his hands wide. The court has long coveted the 8 camps. They've finally found their chance. The grassland campaign, I fear, will be the last dance. After that, who can the 8 camps count on? The world mistakenly praises me, calling me Mr. Feng Chu. But in the end, I am but a disabled man and a waste. None of the other brothers have reached martial saint. I'm afraid they won't have much say either. I remember the alias king of the former De Yen court, Li Wei, who defended the borders for more than 50 years. After his death, his 12 adopted sons were either poisoned, beheaded, stripped of their powers, or some were forced to join the barbarians. Oh, I almost forgot. We have our eldest brother. With him around, hopefully, we won't end up like the adopted sons of the Li family from the previous era. Who knows? Leave it to fate. Chapter 480. Bailiang reviews the troops while Long destroys Wei Country _6. As they spoke, Fang Qingyun had already disappeared into the distance, pushing the wheelchair. Junior brother, your timing isn't good. If you had come to the 8 camps a few years earlier when they were thriving, you could have enjoyed some good times. Instead, you ended up in Liangzhou in these final years and became the closed-door disciple, Sai. The voice faded away. The green-robed scholar had also vanished into the darkness. Chun Sansi was no fool. He could clearly hear the hidden meaning in his senior brother's words. If he were simply sad and nostalgic, why add that last sentence? This was a hint to him. Thinking back, the 3-year martial saint pact must have been planned from the start. Having learned the sect's martial arts, he also had to shoulder the sect's responsibilities. Moreover, it wasn't as if he was just following someone else's desires. The path was his own from the beginning. Initially, there were merely 2 choices: 1, to go to the capital city and be a dog; 2, to try his chances at the frontier. With things as they stood, why hesitate? Pop! Chun Sansi drained the tea from his cup in one gulp and then firmly set down the cup before returning to his residence. Marquis Wu Yi's residence. The backyard was connected to a secluded alley. Tonight, the back door was wide open. Zhao Kong and others gradually arrived. Once everyone was present, a maid locked the back door. In the courtyard, a fragrant medicinal aroma wafted through the air. Mr. Chun sat on a stone bench, facing several boiling medicine furnaces. So, how is it? He began. Have you felt uneasy in the army these past few days? Uneasy? Xiong Chuan cursed, almost dying from unease. Yes. Feng Yong continued. Lady, after you left us here, those damned people disliked us even more. Then, Chan Sansi asked, why do you only have to feel uneasy? Everyone was silent. What else could it be because of? It was because their abilities weren't sufficient. Otherwise, they could have competed legitimately. My lord, it is our incapability. Chan Sansi didn't rush to speak, but instead served a bowl of a pitch-black medicinal soup. Wu Da, you first. Wu Da's physique was undoubtedly a mysterious phenomenon body. Coupled with his excellent comprehension, he was now the highest realm among this group. All right. The scar-faced Wu Da didn't hesitate and gulped it down. Afterward, he felt a clear sensation spreading throughout his limbs and bones after it entered his stomach. This medicinal effect was even stronger than treasure medicine. After drinking, Wu Da tried to cultivate immediately and immediately felt his rapid progress. This, my lord, what is this medicine? How is this possible? It's just ordinary medicine. Chun Sansi said indifferently. This is all the help I can offer you. Spiritual grain. He mixed the spiritual rice medicine ointment into the top-quality supplemental medicine. And this spiritual grain was concocted using an alchemy furnace he had purchased from the cultivation world. After testing, it was discovered that it was many times more effective than those concocted using the mystic iron furnace, and as long as one's realm was above refining internal, it could be taken with virtually no side effects. Subordinates of Pyong. Their capability to adapt on the battlefield was sufficient, and their loyalty was too. The only flaw was their lack of inherent talent. Something that could not be compensated for in the mortal world. Thus, he decided to compensate with methods of the immortals. Now, the Hongza camp, following him to battle the barbarians, posed no problems at all. But they ultimately weren't his own people. To truly make them his Hongza camp, he first needed a sufficient number of trusted generals. As for the matter of spiritual grain, after having gone to the ends of the earth, it seemed no longer so secret. If it really came to light, there were plenty of ways to cope. Although it was still unclear what the immortal treasure actually was, after the grand opening of the heavenly gate, there were plenty of explanations for the methods of concocting spiritual grain. No need to keep gripping it in hand anymore. As his realm increased, the spiritual rice medicine ointment was no longer as significant for Chan Sansi, but for his subordinates, it remained a top-tier treasure medicine, and keeping it hidden was too wasteful. Following Wu Da's lead, the rest of the men also successively drank the supplemental medicine mixed with spiritual rice medicine ointment. 5 Meridian Passage, 15 Hua Jin. Chan Sansi set the requirement. In half a year, if you still can't meet this requirement, leave the Hongza camp on your own, with the aid of spiritual grain, plus an unlimited supply of supplemental medicine. If you still can't reach that level of cultivation, then you're truly a hopeless case. Sir, no problem, Zhao Kong confidently stated. With this divine medicine within 2 months, I will be able to reach Meridian Passage and Hua Jin, equivalent to Assistant General and 1000 Captain. They are also the most crucial generals for controlling an army. As long as there are enough hands on deck, no matter how much chaos, Chun Sansi was confident he could keep firm control of the Hongza camp. After giving specific instructions to everyone, he let them leave. Unwittingly, it had already broad daylight. He couldn't even bother to rest and went straight to the military camp for roll call, fully armored. From today onward, Hongza camp would be responsible for guarding a section of the Great Wall and dealing with small groups of cavalry testing and harassing them. When Chun Sansi led his troops to the Great Wall, he felt the scene was very familiar, just like back in the days at Pyong, except now he commanded 10,000 men and he was even more a mystical phenomenon general. Sir, Xiaozong proactively brought over a map. Sir, please look. This is the current military distribution of the 4 barbarian tribes on the grassland. It's not only us who are actively preparing for battle. The barbarians have also noticed, and had been amassing a large army at the frontier tribes as a precaution 6 months ago. Our most advanced line is facing the Yuan tribe's army. Now, with approximately 20,000 troops, the Yuan's chancellor is also stationed among them. This is the local situation. Viewing the overall situation, our forces combined amount to 200,000. The 4 barbarian tribes' allies even exceed 400,000. After the official start of the northern expedition, they should realize quickly, so it will be a tough face-to-face battle. Yuan tribe. Chin Sansi had also, so to speak, dealt with them before. He stood on the observation platform, gazing into the endless northern Great Desert. There lay the capital of the barbarians.